Hi everyone, and welcome to another Google Cloud Global Digital Conference, the future of your data warehouse. My name is Jay Jenkins. I'm the head of Specialist Engineering for Southeast Asia, and I'm based right here in Singapore.
I'm Shirley Wang, Data Analytics Specialist for Google Cloud in China. I'm based in Beijing office. So in China, we also have Shanghai and Shenzhen offices newly opened. Today, we are very excited to welcome our China audience. This is the first time we extend our live streaming to China. And we also have received thousands people registered from China. 谢谢大家的参与，这是我们第一次在中国同步直播我们的 Digital Cloud Conference，所以很高兴大家能够共同参与这个活动。
Great, and thank you so much for joining us. For those who have joined us for the first time, we have fantastic tracks and sessions lined up for you today with experts from all around the globe, and you can get involved as well. So, navigation, over on your left, you can see the top icon will bring you right back to your live session. The second one will show you the agenda for the day, so you can look at the different tracks, look at the different sessions, and switch in between those sessions at will. And the last one, the Q&A, extremely important.
Yeah, and for the content, we divide today's content into 3 tracks. So it's divided by your role in the business. One track is for the data leaders, that if you have to make big data decisions, that we have 3 sessions will help you on this. And the second track is for those data scientists and data analytics that will talk about BQML and how to do the machine learning in our BigQuery. And the third track it's targeting to those data practitioners like DBAs, and we talk about modernize your data warehouse, how to do the data migration, how to change your schema and fit into this modern data warehouse in GCP BigQuery.
Great, and that last track, super excited about it because that's the one where we're actually coming to you live from this region. So we've actually brought in customer engineers, including Shirley, to talk about how developers and practitioners can use some of our modern data warehousing tools.
Yes, and we also have several partners and customers join us today. For my session, I will be joined with a solution architect from Informatica Kent. So we're talking about the key considerations when you try to migrate your legacy data warehouse to the BigQuery.
Great, and also joining us, we have Manjit Singh from Hike talking about how they're using the data warehouse and how the roles have changed inside of Hike from your traditional type of database administrator to a more modernized operation. And I'm really excited that in our customer spotlight, we have Randy Bangbang Jr., the data warehousing engineering lead, joining us from Traveloka. So they've been a long-time customer. They have really changed how they do data warehousing. First, they were using a lot of open source tooling. Then they modernized that data warehouse, and they continue to grow at that data warehouse. So really, that customer journey talks a lot about talks across the range of sessions that we're going to have today. So it's going to be a really useful customer spotlight.
Yeah, right. And don't forget to ask questions. Besides all these expert speakers, we have Google developers and also developers from partners stay online, stand by to answer your questions live. So just as Jay mentioned, click the Q&A button and ask away whenever you have questions all through this entire event.
Great. So this is the Singapore office, and we're actually walking through our cafe area where they feed a couple of thousand Googlers every single day. You can see the staff starting to get ready for lunch. So thank you for visiting us, and thank you for virtually visiting our office as well.
Yeah, the Singapore office is one of my favorite places. That every time that I visit, I will. It's really a relaxing place for me to meet colleagues and to take snack or meals. And this month is the detachment month. So what about that?
That's right. So this is Detachment Month in our Singapore office, and it's really a great way to remind people that work here at Google that they have resources available in order to help them detach from work. Because in order to really be effective at work, they really need to also manage their energy and manage their time. And Detachment Month is a great reminder of the resources that they have available and the support that they have from the management team as well in order to detach, take care of themselves, and take care of their families.
Yeah, this detachment is meant to make sure that every employee, while they work in Google, they also has a well-being, their health, mental and physical health are good.
Right, so actually you can see we're actually in our games room at the moment, so you can see table tennis just behind us and a couple of other games available so that people can detach even while they're at work. So if you've got a really tough problem and you're working on that behind your desk, you have a really great opportunity to go and play a few games with colleagues and then come back with a refreshed perspective.
Yeah, and coming back about today's session, so we'll have a great keynote from our one of the founder engineer of BigQuery,
That's
Jordan
right.
McKinney.
Yeah, so excited about Jordan Tagani's. He's currently our director of BigQuery, but as Shirley said, he was actually one of the founding engineers behind BigQuery. So really, knows the code inside and out. Was helping us build that whenever it was only an internal data warehousing tool for Google. So tools like Google Analytics really built on top of that. But of course, now it's available as a service, as a modernized data warehouse for any of our customers to use.
Yeah, so as we'll talk about that, initially it's an internal tool called Dremel that within Google, and our engineer team, they externalize it into Google Cloud, and which is called BigQuery today.
Yeah, and actually there's an open source project as well for that, so Apache Big Drill, which is also based on some of that research.
Yeah, so talking about my session, that the key considerations of your when you do your data warehouse modernization. So our partner from Informatica, they will give us a demo of how the tool can help you to do from data ingestion all the way to the data visualization. And I think we'll have 9 sessions in total in each track. So all the sessions have some live demo and a step-by-step guide. So if you are data practitioners and if you really want to start your work in some real use cases, that these sessions will definitely helpful.
Great. And if you are just joining us, my name is Jay Jenkins, so I head up customer engineering, in particular specialist engineering for Southeast Asia, and I'm based right here in Singapore, where we're coming to you live.
My name is Shirley Wang, data analytics specialist for Google Cloud in China.
Yeah, so very excited about the sessions we have today. Also super excited to bring speakers from around the globe, product managers, our product marketing team, and also customer engineers and specialist engineers from right here in the region, so right here from Apac. So Shirley, of course, joining us. Thank you very much. And we'll also hear from Graham Merrill, who'll be joining us along with Manjit Singh from Hike, and also Han-Wen Kam, who will be doing a session. Again, all of the live sessions are in the practitioner and developer track, but of course we have fantastic product managers and product marketing team from around the globe in the other sessions as well.
Yeah, and again, today is the first time we extend our live streaming to China, and we also got thousands registered audience from China.
Yeah.
所以感谢大家的参与，希望大家能够陪伴我们3个小时来观看今天的 session。
Great. And it isn't too late to register, so please take the email that was sent to you, forward that on to anybody you think might be interested in the future of data warehousing. So how do you move from those more traditional types of data warehouses to a more modern type of data warehouses where you'll also be able to get access to tools like machine learning and advanced analytics?
Yeah, and with the registration, you also get a chance to participate in our Cloud Hero Smart Analytics game, which is a warm-up for our One World Challenge
game. So please stay with us until the end for more details around how that challenge is going to work. But of course, we're going to kick it off with Jordan Tagani, our director for BigQuery. He'll be joined by Michelle Getz, a principal analyst at Forrester Research, also talking about the impact of modern data warehousing on organizations around the globe.
Yeah. So stay with us, and the keynote will be coming shortly. Enjoy.
Great. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the future of data warehousing and how Google Cloud allows you to get to the future sooner rather than later. My name is Jordan Tagani. I'm the Director of Product Management for Google BigQuery. And I'm here with Michelle Getz, Principal Analyst at Forrester.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So data has always been mission critical, and it's always really been a differentiator. If you were a navigator, if you had better maps, that was going to enable you to be more successful. If you're a researcher, if you have better data, you're running better studies, that's going to enable you to be more successful. However, nowadays, the scale of data is so large that it's really changing the game. Success is often not about whether you have the right data, it's being able to understand the data that you already have.
And so from that perspective, we constantly or used to constantly hear the term big data, and it felt like such a cliche. But the reality is that, data is what kills the blind spots of our business. It gives us the ability to really see what's happening in the market, see what's happening with our customers, and see what's happening within our business itself. And so what organizations are really starting to do is think about, how do we take advantage of all of this data? How do we make sure that we're collecting everything that we can so that we can have those better insights to make those business decisions? And so really what we're seeing in terms of this growth in data and information is that we're taking advantage of the cloud to allow us to accelerate collection of this information, to not always worry about, is it valuable, is it not valuable, because we know that anything that we can collect about the way that we operate and the way that we engage with our customers is going to be important. So between 2017 and 2019, we went from 37% of our structured data was in the cloud to 45% of our structured data is moving to the cloud. And that's not even just from a structured data perspective. We're also seeing that same sort of growth when it comes to semi-structured or content and digital assets. Now, the other thing that's starting to occur here is cloud isn't just a place where you push something to store it and lower that cost. It's not just a storage container, let's say. We're really thinking about, how can we also take advantage of that environment to do something with the data. So we have to think about how that data is managed and structured and will be made available. And so data management in the cloud is also on the rise, and 65% of firms are expecting to increase the amount of data that they're moving into the data management capacity within the next year. And then lastly, the ability to activate that data, to get those insights, to move to better decisions, and take advantages of the scale and the agility that newer technology can lend itself to. The modern data warehouse is also becoming increasingly attractive. And so from this perspective, 60% of organizations are really looking to increase that use case over the next 12 months. And that's really interesting from a data perspective and a growth and a technology point of view, but it really just comes back down to why. And data and analytics professionals who typically had been in sort of the weeds of managing and sourcing information are now starting to connect the dots about, why does this matter for the business? What are their stakeholders, decision makers, and executives expecting from this information? Well, obviously, number one, we need to grow the business. So that means we need to grow our revenue. So really tying to those types of capabilities that aren't just about, how do I lower the total cost of ownership about data, but how do I go offensive and really get better advantages for the organization with the outcome of more revenue. And to do that, we recognize that we have to engage with our customers better, create better customer experiences, have affinities to brand where they're coming back repeatedly because we're giving them what they want. And in order to do that, that information has to support the products and services that we deliver. Those products and services can't be stagnant. They have to maintain the pace of where the preferences and needs of our customers are going. And that means we're also using the data, looking at that interaction between customer experience and how they value our company, how they evaluate products and services, and continuously innovate, not being stagnant in what we deliver, but looking at new product and service opportunities and looking at ways that we can advance and evolve our products and services. And then lastly, it's really about speed. Does data and insight make us faster to meet those needs, or are we sitting back and letting those insights kind of devalue over time and perish and impact our business? So really what data has to do is keep pace, and insights need to keep pace with what's going on to move forward quickly.
Thanks. So I think we've sort of established that there's a data growth and a data problem, but how does this impact customers? Well, for senior leaders in an organization, they're noticing that that as data is growing and as data needs are growing, those are increasing faster than budgets are increasing. So people are getting pushed to be do things more efficiently, and stuff is starting to break. Data ends up being scattered in silos, and one of the key things that data can allow you to do is you get additional value when you try to merge that data together. And finally, there's security implications of moving to the cloud and trying to join data from these additional platforms. I think customers are also hindered by the legacy data platforms that they're using. As the scale has increased, they're starting to melt down. They just can't handle exponential growth given their existing architectures. The operational overhead is increasing faster than people are willing to handle, and they're being sort of left behind by sort of new types of analytics that may not be possible in their current data processing paradigm. And finally, they may be stuck with kind of the traditional data warehousing use case of taking yesterday's data, processing it in reports, and handling it the next day, because it means that it's much harder to react to things that are changing in real time. So one of the things we like to say at Google is that data warehousing is not a use case. So the real use case is being able to make data-driven decisions. You want to make good decisions with good data, and you want to make those quickly.
And so to make those decisions, you have to put data warehousing in context of not only the general use cases where data is going to provide value, but the future of the way that we're going to run our business. We're really starting to transform ourselves in the way that we work. What is the employee experience? How do people do their jobs? How do you source talent and skill sets? There's also this influence in our ability to take advantage of data in new ways and instrument it for new use cases that are going to occur, whether those are analytic or operational types of examples. And so data ops is emerging as a new competency center within the business. Obviously, it has impacts on the types of technology decisions that we're going to make and what those strategies and architectures are going to be. And then lastly, it all culminates into that intelligent business. And so this is really what we're talking about, is it's the future of the modern data warehouse, but it's also the future of our business. And so let's break this down a little bit. When we talk about the future of work, how is this changing and what's its relationship to the data? We are becoming much more insight driven. We're taking into account other types of information or a broader view to kill a lot of those blind sites that we had. And so we're not just operating off of a gut feel, we're trying to look at information and help us to validate some of the decisions that we're going to be making. And to be honest, some of those decisions we didn't have to make so frequently or at volume. Maybe some of that can be automated. So both from an augmentation and an automation standpoint, this is how our businesses are starting to transition to be insight driven. It makes us more collaborative because as people, we bring in different points of view and we want to share those points of view and confirm where we want to go and how to make the right decisions. And data sits at the center of this. We're bringing in our different viewpoints anecdotally, and we're bringing in our different viewpoints from the data, the facts, and the insights themselves to share them so that you can come together and be more effective. Ultimately, it's allowing us to be much more adaptive. When you have insights at your fingertips, when data is made available to you, you don't have these lag times between what you see within the market or what you see with your customer before you know what you can move forward on. So it ties back to that insight-driven augmentation and automation capabilities, which gets you to speed. You can get to these insights faster, and you want to be able to move that business faster. And ultimately, you're thinking in terms of ecosystems. The cloud in and of itself is an ecosystem of data which is representative of your business and the overall environment and your customers themselves. So really embrace that idea. That's where the future of work really starts to step in. Now, what did we mean by the future of data ops, and where does modern data warehousing enable this? Well, we really have to recognize that we need to develop our capabilities and keep up with the pace of our business requests and the changes that our business is trying to adapt to. So we're really investing in new development capabilities and bringing agile methodologies out of just the app dev and DevOps environment back to our data management and data engineering capabilities. And today we're seeing 60% of companies really moving towards this new paradigm to meet the demands of data and insights within the business. We're changing our technology. And certainly Jordan's going to go into this a little bit further in terms of what Google is doing right now. But let's just take it from a broad level. Our traditional data warehousing environments were really premised on how do I collect data and put it into storage? What are the infrastructure and system decisions and administrative decisions that we need to be thinking about? How do you connect our applications to storing and saving our information? And even the way that we were thinking about analytics was slicing, dicing, drill down, a lot of OLAP type of capabilities, very simple aggregate calculated functions. When we go into a modern data warehouse design, really what we're starting to think about there is object storage, table storage, really taking into account the combination of how the data currently exists and maintaining the integrity of that at the same time that we're able to refine that information for purposeful use cases. The computation and the processing is more adaptive and elastic to different types of workloads. And ultimately, you're using a variety of programming languages and capabilities that are going to help you meet where your business needs that demand, whether that's just core analytics or whether you're embedding those analytics and insights into those operational workloads. And so really what that's helping us to transition to is something that is much more capability driven rather than just data and systems driven. And so we're able to better harness and take advantage of our data at the point that we need it to meet all of those business demands that we talked about before. Now, obviously, the other benefit is not only are we really smart now, not only are we moving at the speed of business and the speed of our market and our customers, but we're able to really take advantage of doing more with a little less money. So we're seeing that migrating over to a modern data warehouse environment allows us to start seeing better savings, which really offsets where we're having to collect more information. So what does this mean when you take this future for our business and for data and bring this together? It really drives towards the future of the intelligent business. So what do we mean by that? What does it mean to be smarter? What does it mean that we can take advantage of these new data warehouse capabilities and all the benefits of moving to the cloud? So number one, streaming insight in real time. Think about automotive companies. Think about getting into your car today. You're not just driving. The car is smart and aware about the environment, helping you to have new safety features that can stop or slow down the car so that you don't get into accidents, that can warn you if you're almost ready to back up into your neighbor's car. Unfortunately, sometimes that happens. So you see these capabilities coming in from automotive companies to have better driving experiences, but at the same time, the information that they know about you as a customer and the types of things that you want to do. Where do you go? What tickets did you purchase to go to a sporting event or to a play? That type of information is now starting to be harnessed. And so companies like BMW and Porsche and Ford are all looking at harnessing all of this information to not only create better driving experiences, but to have better customer connections, that connected customer experience. Now, the other side of it is that data is now starting to change the way that we think at an executive level and within the boardroom. Think about simulating your business. Think about gamifying what's going on within your market and with your customers. How can you simulate what's happening there and interact with visual environments to hypothesize and test new business opportunities, profitability models, operational models. So within the healthcare space, we see this quite a bit, where physicians and surgeons are going in and being able to model patient outcomes. What were the procedures? What were the treatments? What were the adherences to those treatments? And places like MD Anderson and the Cleveland Clinic are really looking towards these types of simulations to help understand better treatments to get people up and faster and healthier as they move forward. Now, the other area, which is a little bit more pragmatic, is in the case of breaking down business silos. When Jordan talked earlier about, data silos and business silos, this modern data warehouse is allowing you to span between what your customers demand, how you're influencing that demand, how that's linking back to inventory, what does that look like in your broader supply chain, and what sort of decisions are you even going to make or affect from a manufacturing and sourcing perspective. So in that case, what we're really starting to see is retailers connecting the dots between all the different facets of a value stream that occurs within their organization. And we see this quite naturally in companies like Target and Walmart, and even some of the regional players like a Nordstrom's. They're really starting to use analytics and build on top of these modern environments so that those insights are a continuum that draw towards bigger and not just incremental benefits, but exponential revenue potential. And then lastly, the real future of the intelligent business is really not just democratizing insight, but democratizing the capability to get that insight. So when we talk about the rise of the citizen data scientists, everybody is going to have rich, robust, advanced analytic capabilities at their fingertips as more and more applications are coming to these modern environments to make it easier to predict, to influence, and to take automated steps and decisions within their business so that everybody is lifted and is smarter, not just the core data scientists and analytics teams, not just the decision makers, but every employee within the organization.
Thanks, Michelle, for sharing those insights. That was really interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to be here.
So it's clear that the picture that Michelle painted of goes beyond traditional data warehousing. So how do we get there? So when you move to the cloud, a lot of additional things become possible. First, scale. The separation of storage and compute lets you scale your storage system and your compute capabilities independently to almost unlimited sizes. Second, as Michelle was describing, being able to make real-time decisions allows you to understand what's happening right now in your organization and be able to make decisions very quickly. This can be a differentiator for many businesses, such as in financial services. The ability to make faster decisions than your competitors can mean the difference between making money and losing money. Going beyond real time into the sort of the predictive space means that instead of just understanding what's happening now, you can understand what's going to happen tomorrow. What are your customers going to do? What is going to happen? And there's lots of compelling use cases along that area. One of the key components of this is a centralized storage system that breaks down the barriers between your data silos. Sharing data between your data lake and your data warehouse becomes possible, and you should really only have to store one copy of your data, rather than having multiple copies that you move out for doing data science, or that you move out for for other data lake operations. Kind of underpinning this is sort of advanced security and trust control. So once you're in the cloud, the threat model changes. If you can move data around super quickly, you could, in theory, exfiltrate your data just as quickly. So we need additional types of security controls to manage data in the cloud, and so that we can be confident that our data is going to be used in the way that we want it to. And lastly, on this topic, there's sort of data sharing and being able to make sure that everyone in your organization who should have access to the data can get access and can get the value out of that data. So Google has a broad analytics platform that combines not just data warehousing, but a whole suite of tools to allow you to process your data, to comprehend and understand the data, to analyze the data, and then to visualize and generate reports over the data. But what we're going to focus on today is BigQuery. BigQuery is at the heart of Google's analytics platform, and it is our enterprise data warehouse. It scales up to petabytes, kind of up to petabytes for queries, and up to exabytes for storage. All your data is stored encrypted, durably, highly available. It's a fully managed system. It's serverless. We have real-time components, built-in machine learning. So many of the things that we saw on the previous slide of what does the data warehouse of the future look like, many of the things already exist in BigQuery. And I'll describe this in more detail in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the architecture and how the architecture of BigQuery enables many of these things. So I think one of the key thing here we have a separation of storage and compute. So our BigQuery storage system can scale to exabytes, and it scales completely independently from our compute cluster, which can scale to hundreds of thousands of CPU cores. And then tying between the two, we have our distributed shuffle tier. And I think one of the key differentiators and innovations that Google maintains is the quality of our network. And the quality of the Google network is really what enables BigQuery to operate as effectively as it does. I mentioned security was super important. Google Cloud is sort of built on a number of cross-cloud security protections, such as the encryption between machines and between data centers. Anytime data is on the wire, we have the VPC service controls, which let you prevent exfiltration and limit who can access your data. We have access transparency, so that in case anytime your data is accessed, you get an audit log record. And we also have a number of certifications from around the world to enable you to use your data on our cloud. We have a lot of customers using BigQuery and a lot of different use cases that line up to the areas that we were talking about before. So first is lower TCO. Home Depot is a big retailer that recently migrated to BigQuery. They've found that they spend a lot less using BigQuery than they did with their on-prem data warehouse, and they get a lot more value out of it. They have probably almost 2 orders of magnitude more data than they did before, because that data is providing them value. Next is sort of the real-time use case. So Zulily runs a number of daily deals, and they if they only get reports the next day about what happened yesterday, then they can't make any changes in real time. So they use BigQuery's real-time streaming infrastructure to be able to make rapid changes throughout the day in order to maximize the impact of their deals. 20th Century Fox is a big user of BigQuery machine learning. I'll talk about in a little bit. AccuWeather shares data sets with their suppliers and distributors. kind of multiplying the value of their data. And finally, HSBC is one of our keystone customers in the financial services area. That for them, the kind of the security of their data is of the utmost importance, and they've entrusted us with some of their most sensitive operations. You don't just have to take our word for it. Folks like Forrester and Gartner also recognize that Google is a leader in data warehousing. So what specifically are we doing along these lines? So I mentioned predictive analytics, and one of the keys here is making machine learning available to more audiences or larger audiences. Folks find that it's very difficult to hire data scientists and people with machine learning PhDs, and so we want to actually reduce the level of knowledge and specialized knowledge that you need to have in order to accurately make predictions. So we have BigQuery machine learning, which lets you operate, build models and make predictions directly from the database. We also have connections to AutoML tables, which you just point it at a table and it'll automatically generate a machine learning model. And then we also have strong connectors to TensorFlow. So if you do have machine learning scientists who want to build the best possible model, that you can also do that without having to unnecessarily make copies of your data or move data around. So BigQuery BQML is pretty slick. It's just a SQL query to either create models and train models or make predictions over those models. So to train a model, instead of running a create table as select as you might in a normal SQL statement, you can write create model as select, and you provide kind of a limited set a simple set of parameters to describe how you want to create that model. We have a number of models that are supported. The ones that are in general availability are logistic and linear regression and k-means clustering, but we have a number of additional ones that are in alpha, and including XGBoost, which is the one that sort of wins all the Kaggle competitions these days. So, kind of in addition to predictive analytics, we also have real-time analytics, which can make it easier to make rapid decisions about what's going on in your business. In many verticals, we find that real-time decision making provides real value. I mentioned e-commerce, but mobile gaming, being able to quickly make decisions that keep customers engaged and keep customers playing the game. Being able to identify fraudulent transactions, et cetera. The faster you can make decisions, and you can make automated decisions, the more value you get out of it. So the next step is logical data warehousing. Logical data warehousing is a category that lets you treat other data as if it's your data warehouse. We sort of think about it as just sort of providing platform interoperability. So we have two branches of this. One is using BigQuery to read data that lives in other sources. So if you have if your data lake data lives in GCS, in Parquet files or ORC files, you can query that data as if it's native. We also just launched an external query functionality, which lets you query data in Cloud SQL in order to sort of join that data and explore that data with your BigQuery data. So that's sort of one side. That's sort of pulling data into BigQuery. The other side is pulling data out of BigQuery. So BigQuery has the storage API, which lets you read at full speed from data in your data warehouse. Can do parallel reads with filter pushdowns and column projections that enable you to read from sort of like Hadoop-like and MapReduce-like workloads, with the same speeds as if you were just running over HDFS or Parquet files that were living in an object store. So we have strong integration with Cloud Dataflow. So if you're running Spark, or if you're running Hive or Hadoop, You can get very fast queries over your table, and you get all the advantages of having BigQuery manage the data. So you can do DML over the data. You can apply kind of strong governance policies to that data. So the next step is BI, and BI is sort of a special case of data visualization. So in case you haven't heard, Google Cloud just recently announced an acquisition of Looker. Now it hasn't closed yet, so I can't talk about too many details, other than to say that BigQuery and Looker already work extremely well together. Looker is sort of more than just a BI tool. You can think of it as a data platform or a data API and when you combine that with BigQuery, it's sort of more than the sum of the parts. One of the great things about BigQuery is it's very good at sort of ad hoc queries, or queries that you hadn't necessarily thought of beforehand. Looker pushes all of the queries down to the query engine, so a lot of the times the queries look like things that the database wasn't necessarily ready for. And so with a lot of other backends, it kind of pushes them to their limits, but it works very smoothly with BigQuery. I won't comment on any future integrations, other than to say that I think it's going to be awesome. You add Looker in, and you can start seeing that a really complete overall analytics platform. So in addition to Looker, we also have plenty of BI partners. So if you have another BI tool that you like and you want to use, there's no reason that you have to switch to Looker. And we will continue to work well with Tableau, MicroStrategy, Business Objects, Click, etc. Whatever you're used to using, you'll be able to continue using. And we recognize that we need those to continue to work well. So finally is integration and migration. So if you decide that you want to use BigQuery, how do you actually start? So we've kind of mapped out the migration paths. It's not just a question of, okay, I'm going to take my data that's in this one data warehouse and export the data and transform the schema. For large enterprises, there's a lot more that goes on with this. You have to deeply understand your workloads. You have to assess, how much BigQuery do I need, plan the migration, and then we sort of have this sort of three-part migration where you kind of send data to both places. You send data then just to BigQuery, and then finally you have to verify and validate that the results you're getting are actually the same, because you don't want to just move all your queries over and turn out that your results have changed. And also many organizations do this in several parts. So they may do this sort of workload by workload. So you don't have to decide, okay, I'm going to move everything over to BigQuery and do it all on Thursday, and then on Friday you're sort of 100% on the new system. You can sort of do it a piece at a time. And finally, we have a lot of customers are choosing BigQuery as their data warehouse. A lot of large enterprises in lots of different verticals and lots of different areas of the world. So we have some special deals for data warehouse modernization from sort of free consulting and planning and support, training, etc. So if you have a cloud account person that you're working with, ask them about this if you're interested in migrating your data warehouse. Thanks everybody, and I think we're going to have a great rest of this conference.
Thank you so much to Jordan and Michelle for taking us through around what data warehousing means in the modern age. So using fantastic tools like BigQuery, which gives you access to newer technologies and really helps you refocus things from day-to-day operations to the value that you're trying to get out of your data warehouse. But it's even better if you can hear that from a customer. So I'm really delighted that we have Randy Bangbang Jr. joining us from Traveloka. Randy is the data warehousing engineering lead for Traveloka. Randy has shared part of his journey with us before, but today Randy will take us from end to end when they first adapted Google Cloud Platform to where they are today, and talking a little bit about what's next for them. So I'd like to welcome Randy.
Thank you, Jay, for the introduction. So today, I would like to share to you our journey on migrating our data warehouse to GCP. I would like to share what are the insights, lesson learned, and how we do things on GCP actually. So I'm part of data warehouse engineering team. So basically, our responsibility is to manage data warehouse and also to manage data pipeline that process and write data to the data warehouse itself. And before we are going to the core of the presentation, I would like to share you first what is Traveloka. Traveloka is a technology company, and our vision is to enrich people's life through technology. And we are one of the few startup unicorns in Indonesia. So our focus is, like for example, if you would like to experience a new place, you will need a flight ticket, you will need accommodation ticket, and then when you get there, you might need some kind of like international roaming for you to get stay connected. We provide those services, and we also operate in several countries in Southeast Asia, like for example, Singapore, Indonesia. So that's a bit about Traveloka. Next is I would like to share you what are our use cases actually regarding to data pipeline. And there are several main use cases. So first is data lake, where you pull all data in many sources into one place. And usually the users are scientists that would like to take a look at raw data directly. And we also have a data warehouse where we cleanse the data and then we model and put it in one place so that's easy for our others to use. Mainly it's BI purposes that use data warehouse. And the third is real-time analytics. So this is an analysis on no-no data, like a second's latency, and usually it's something that is time critical, like for example, anomaly checking and some kind of like investigation. And the fourth one is actually stream processing one, where we process and store machine learning features. So this is usually called feature store, and when we process that store it in somewhere, and then machine learning model will use it for their online prediction. So those are our use cases, and this is how we come up with as our legacy architecture. So we started with this. So we have event streaming going to a Kafka, and then we write it into 3 different places. The first one is in memory database management system for real-time analytics. The second one is we write it into a file storage service on the cloud, and then we process it using Spark, scheduled using Airflow, and then we write it into a cloud MPP columnar database. And the third stream is we do an in-house stream processing using a Java, and we write it into an SQL DB. This is for our real-time machine learning features. So this is what we started with, and we run into several issues actually. The first issue that I'd like to share you is, so we have separate data sources. As I mentioned previously, we have at least 3 data sources when we would like to analyze something. If we would like to have real-time data, we go to the in-memory DB. And if we'd like to do a process data lake, then we go to the cloud file. And if we'd like to go process the data warehouse, and then we'd like to go to the columnar DB. So the tricky part is the infrastructure itself is spread from one to another, so that it's very hard to do cross-analysis. The second issue is, of course, it's quite complex to do. We have so many assets, and it's very hard to master them all. We have more than 10 technology at the time, and it's very hard because most of them are self-hosted, means you have to really understand deeply on what are the technology behind so that you can keep it reliable. And our team spend a lot more time on infrastructure and less about business. We spend less time on enabling the data. And the third issue is, of course, we have a high cost because, as you see before, we have many assets there, and we have many licenses for us to pay for. And then besides that, we also need to pay some support costs. And I think the biggest part is, especially on data warehouse, we have a very tightly coupled compute and storage there, and we usually hit storage bound a lot faster. So this means when we need to store more data, we need to add more nodes. Meanwhile, maybe our CPU usage is not that high, so it's kind of tricky there. And before I go into how architecture right now, I would like to share you how we come to try GCP in the first place. We didn't just kind of like, maybe this is a good time to start using GCP and then we just do it. No. Of course, we started with a use case, a real use case. So our real use case is, first, our stream processing is not that reliable, so that we need to migrate it to somewhere. But the question is, migrate to where, right? So we look for what are the alternative solutions out there, and we try to look for what is kind of like a stream processing that can be a lot more like no need to manage at all, if possible. So we find out GCP Dataflow is one of the alternative, and we test that, and it turns out it works very, very well. So we kind of like double write from our application to PubSub and Kafka, and from PubSub we subscribe using Dataflow, and from Dataflow we write it into the NoSQLDB. So we migrate it there. It's already 2 years there, and the graphic that you see on the slides right now is a graphic from our real production. As you can see in the left one, there is a PubSub graphic there, and somehow the Dataflow will follow based on the number of nodes there, based on the traffic that they get. So it's very easy, and you don't have to do anything besides dividing the start number of node and the maximum node, and it can auto-scale just fine based on the load. So the second use case that we got into is real-time analytics. So we ran into some issues in our in-memory real-time database. And at that time, we are trying to look for what are other alternatives that can replace this one, because the technology itself is quite tricky. So we looked for something, and we found BigQuery. And we were surprised at that time, because BigQuery is columnar, but it supports streaming. Usually, if you have a columnar DB, you have to load it as batch, like for example, 1 day of data or something like that. But BigQuery supports streaming directly, and it can be queried in real time and right away. So this is something that we are looking for, and we try to migrate it to BigQuery, and our business users are very happy with the new performance that they are getting. And as I said before, we have an in-memory DB, which means it is very limited in terms of how much data that we can store there. We only stored 14 days of data, but when we move to BigQuery, we can store all historical data because we basically have a storage and compute layers separated. So another use case to migrate, and both working very fine, and our users are very happy about it. So the next question is, things went well, why don't we move everything? So that is exactly what we are doing currently. So we are currently migrating our biggest assets, which is our data warehouse, into BigQuery. So this is how the new architecture looks like. It's a lot simplified. We have an event stream and PubSub, and then it's being subscribed by our Dataflow, and then it's right into 2 places, which is BigQuery and Bigtable for our NoSQLDB. So for the BigQuery, the ETL, batch ETL, it is managed or orchestrated by Composer, which is a managed Apache Airflow. As you can see here, we have several use cases there in BigQuery, and I'd like to mention them. So we use BigQuery, as I said before, for real-time analytics. We also use it for data warehouse, and we use it both there. And we also use it for most of our ETL, since BigQuery SQL is very simple to use. So for ETL logic that is not that complex, we just use BigQuery SQL because it's easier. And we also use it for data lake, especially because BigQuery now have a storage API. That means that you can read data from Spark or Dataproc directly into the storage layer of the BigQuery without going to the query engine. So it's kind of like a lot faster and also a lot cheaper. So those are our use cases in BigQuery. And so what are the benefits that we can get there? So the first thing is that we notice when we move the real-time analytics use case, we can save cost up to 80%. because our pattern query is not that frequent, and it really fits BigQuery very, very well. And also, we cut a lot of cost on data warehouse because we pay storage sparingly. As I mentioned previously, we were storage bound, right? So having BigQuery is kind of like solve our problem there. The next benefit that we get is our queries are faster. So there are several queries that were quite complex, and it won't run. It will fail. But when we move it to BigQuery, it just works because in behind there are a lot of nodes that can support your query. And it is a lot faster as well because of the economics of scale. One query maybe can be kind of like split it into many nodes and then return the result a lot faster. So our user is pretty happy about it. So that's all about what are the benefits that we get, and we'd like to go into how we actually use BigQuery right now. So first is we integrated, of course, to our BI and visualization tools. In BigQuery, we have several layers of data sets, and we have a raw data, and then we cleanse it, and then we model it, and then we go and summarize the data. So the outmost layer is integrated to BI tools directly so that our business user can go and just right away do analysis on the data. The second thing that how we use BigQuery is, as I said before, we use BigQuery also for our ETL. Most of the time, we mostly have a partition table by date, since that's quite natural for data warehouse. And we use BigQuery operator on Composer or Apache Airflow to manage that. So it's very simple. The next thing is, for a developer, for an engineer, BigQuery API is where you can play a lot there. So we develop some kind of like framework for our specific use case. We create a schema inheritance there. We create a YAML file to define how our schema is. Basically, you can use it using like create table statement, but we create an API, a YAML file definition, and fire it to BigQuery API to create tables and update it, and it is integrated to our CI/CD as well. So for you, if you are engineers, having BigQuery API and work with that, they are very easy to work with. The next thing that we use is a Cloud Data Catalog. This is because we have a schema defined in YAML, and everyone can put their description there. It's integrated directly to BigQuery description, and the great thing is it is also crawled automatically by the data catalog into their backend. So we can directly right away look for and search for our data there. So let's say if you are looking for sales table, you can just type sales there, and the result will come. So we built a specific UI for our case because we have a layer definition there, and it enables our user to look for our data very easily. And the last thing on how we use BigQuery is we divide BigQuery into separate projects based on our businesses. So for example, we have a flight project, we have a accommodation project, we also have a train project, etc., etc. So each of the project has its own data owner and steward, and they manage their own access control to the data. So it's very democratizing, and it's very easy to use. It's very easy to share as well, and to control the access to the data. So imagine similar to maybe to Google Docs, but it's for table. So they are how we use BigQuery, and the last section is we'd like to share on what are actually the lessons learned on the migration so far. And there are 4 main points that I'd like to share to you guys. The first one is if you are a data modeler, when you would like to try to model data into fact or dimension, then you'll need to determine on what actually the fact granularity table there is. If you have a sales, and then if you have an order item, you have to choose whether it's sales level or order item level, right? So in BigQuery, we don't have to choose because we can store everything into one table. So if you have a one-to-many relationship, you can store it in one table using nested repeated, and it's very actually it's very natural for us to do so. Imagine similar to JSON in a way, and we utilize it a lot for our modeling. The second thing is, since BigQuery is serverless, our monitoring pattern is kind of like shifted from monitoring infra to monitoring query usages. We need to see on how actually our user query the data and whether the data is being queried correctly in an efficient manner, etc., etc. So it's kind of like a shift on your focus on monitoring. Yeah. So the third thing on the lesson learned is since we've put a complex SQL ETL there, there might need to be split into several steps because it's just quite complex to for a BigQuery. And when we have a very complex SQL ETL, there will be a kind of like resource exceeded error. And at that time, we need to kind of like split our SQL into several steps so that it works. The last thing is when we use ETL using BigQuery, we are very happy with the small overhead there, especially because when we do a lot of backfills, since we are migrating, of course, we need to rerun for 1 year of data, 2 year of data, and when it comes into BigQuery SQL, it's super fast to do the backfill. So there are lessons learned that we learned so far from our migration. Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you. We'll go to the Q&A after this, so stay tuned.
Randy, thank you so much for that. It's great to catch up with you after so long and also see some of the newer things that you're working on. So thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it's really important for the people watching to understand what a customer's journey is like. We spent a lot of time talking, I guess, about the technical aspects of your implementation. What do you think were the major business values or the business impact that Traveloka has had from implementing this new technology?
Okay. So I think the biggest business impact that we get is we can do a lot more ad hoc queries. So when you do analysis, usually you come up with question and you come up with more questions, right? So what we have currently and what we did previously in our previous data warehouse, we have a very limited concurrency. Means if you query a lot, there will be a long queue and then you will wait for a while. Maybe you query and then you get some lunch and it's still not finished. So in BigQuery, it's very fast, and actually it has a lot of concurrency, around 100 per project. So if we need more, we can add more projects there as well. So the problem was kind of like disappear, and everyone can happily do ad hoc queries and get more insights there. So that's the first business impact. I think next one is especially regarding costs. I've mentioned that we save a lot of costs on real-time analytics, like up to 80%, and we also see from the ETL perspective, we migrate some complex ETL there, and we see like comparing the cost, and actually the new ETL in BigQuery kind of like 1/3 of the initial cost, so we save a lot of costs there. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, and as you've gone down this journey, what are some of those unexpected benefits that you've had? Something like a benefit that you achieved that you didn't expect initially whenever you were implementing this?
Yeah. So we were migrating for some reason because this is not reliable, this is not cost effective, right? But when we migrated, we see several benefits as well. Like for example, I think there are more collaboration. So it's very easy for you to, for example, share a query using a link or something like that, and share, like for example, if you do some analysis and you store it somewhere and you share it to someone else, it's very easy to do so. So collaboration is one plus point there. And the second here is about self-service. So in BigQuery UI, it's very easy for you to, for example, ingest your own data using BigQuery transfer. We did that with some of our team there. So they kind of like do a self-service ingestion into their own BigQuery datasets. And another self-service thing is they can also schedule their own query. So you can put some parameters in the SQL like dates, right? And then you can schedule it. So it's very easy to use for our end users, especially the one who knows SQLs. The second thing regarding the unexpected benefit, actually regarding integration. When we use BigQuery, we don't know that it can also query external data. And the one that the most favorite from our user is to integrate with Google Sheet. So you can integrate data with Google Sheet. You can query from BigQuery, and even you can query from Google Spreadsheet as well. So it's very easy to use for those who love spreadsheets, right? So I think, yeah, they are the unexpected benefit that we can get.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, a lot of certainly benefits for those end users, right? That are, it's interesting because you're used to working one way, but of course you get things like standard SQL to make it easy to use, but you
Yep.
also get these extra tools that you didn't
Yep.
have before.
Yeah.
Great. So what about the other side? What about some issues that you didn't expect?
Yeah, so BigQuery are serverless, right? So we hope that it's magic and it can do everything. But to some extent, when we do very, very complex SQL ETL, it's kind of like stuck because of resource exceeded issues. So we need to split the ETL. For example, if we have several common table expression, we split it into 3 or 4, whatever, and then we see whether it works or not. And then when it works, we kind of like knit it together using temporary tables, something like that. So I think that's where we unexpectedly found issue.
Okay, and I guess so what's next? What's next for Traveloka?
Yeah, since we are currently haven't migrated everything, so we'd like to process the migration, and our business actually can't wait for more and more data in BigQuery. And the second thing is we'd like to really see about Apache Beam SQL, since it's coming right in Dataflow as well. So we'd like to see whether it's possible to do a near real-time data warehouse, since it will be a competitive advantage for us.
Yeah, fantastic. So a lot of great things, and coming up, we actually have quite a few different sessions to support some of the things that Randy has shared. So across those 3 different tracks, in track 1, we'll have Jen Bennett from our Office of the CTO, along with the Henry Lin, the Senior Manager for Data Engineering at Reddit, talking about business value and how you extract more business value out of those data warehouses. On the second track, we'll have Philippe Hoffa from an end user perspective talking about 10 pro tips to turn you into a data warehousing superhero. So how do you actually get some of those tips, as Randy was talking about with Traveloka, how do you actually jumpstart your journey from an end user perspective? And on the third track, we have Shirley Wang, who opened the show with us. So she's actually flown here to Singapore to do this session for us live. So Shirley Wang will actually be joined by one of our fantastic partners, Informatica. So Ken Wakatnai will also be joining Shirley to talk about migrating data into the data warehouse and how you actually move that data to the data warehouse so you can start to get that immediate value and enrich that data across multiple data sources. So kicking it off today, talking with Jordan Degani, also Michelle Getz, an analyst from Forrester Research, around the business value, around the new changes that we have for a data warehouse and what having a modern data warehouse means. Talking here with Randy around Traveloka and their entire journey from an open source set of technologies to a managed service technology so they could focus on their business value and the changes that they continue to make in order to get more value for their customers as well. It's not too late to register, so if you've enjoyed these sessions, please forward this link to your friends and colleagues that might benefit from this, and take a look at the navigation on the left-hand side of your screen. So that top icon will always bring you back to your current session. The second one is for the agenda to help you plan your day. And that last one, very important, the Q&A, where we're going to have live experts standing by, ready to assist. So please use that button, get involved. Once again, thank you very much, Randy.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Great. Enjoy.
Welcome to Google Cloud's Global Digital Conference, the future of your data warehouse. My name is Jen Bennett, a technical director in the Office of the CTO at Google Cloud. And today we'll be talking about the business value of modernizing your data warehouse with Google Cloud. At any time during our live session, you can ask questions on our platform, and Googlers are standing by to answer them. Let's get started. The Office of the CTO is a group of trusted advisors who collaborate with a number of our most strategic customers, helping them innovate as their business needs and demands change. Time and time again, we hear about the need to become more data-driven, leveraging new data and old data in new ways, focused on insight from data at a time when their businesses are evolving more rapidly than ever. Data and analytics is nothing new. Data warehouses have been around since the 80s, taking data from operational systems and delivering analytical insight. So what's new? Or rather, what's changed? Well, the number of data sources have exploded, and that volume of data has increased dramatically. Businesses are focused on digital transformation, increasing the need for more people throughout their business to leverage data, often in new ways, and in a timely manner. This is pushing the limits of our traditional systems. Let's take a closer look at what digital transformation can look like from the lens of some of our customers. In retail, we see that customers are using data to improve customer acquisition and retention, using such things as personalized marketing, providing superior customer support. They're also using data to drive better merchandising and assortment decisions, things like forecast demanding or dynamic pricing. They're also looking at running operations and inventory more efficiently, so optimizing on-shelf inventory using machine learning to do that. Retail banking, we see similar things. We see improved customer acquisition and onboarding through personalization, and also through product recommendations. We see improved customer support and operations, things like risk mitigation, detecting suspicious purchases, and sentiment analysis. In healthcare, we see a number of aspects. On the payer side, we see improved experience, but also helping build new population health models. On the provider side, we're looking at optimized care pathways. And in life sciences, you're going to see an example of this later, R&D and clinical trials are collecting data to allow us to evaluate diseases more thoroughly and doing it in a secure and useful way. No surprise, digital transformation starts with data. When we talk to our customers, analytic leaders struggle to meet the needs of their business and achieve the digital transformation that they're seeking with their legacy data warehouses. These systems struggle to meet the needs. They don't scale easily. They face performance issues and challenges. Often they're expensive to procure and, more importantly, to maintain. They have restrictive hardware or maybe expensive software licensing, which really encourages people to restrict the number of users that are leveraging the data, often allowing those users to do maybe little ad hoc queries or a small amount of data exploration. They lack the mature capabilities for predictive insights. And last but not least, they're really stuck in this batch analysis world when the speed of the business is moving to real time. So if we look at leading retailers who are turning to Google Cloud to help, we're going to hear from Amy Stevenson, a CMO of DSW, in her own words.
I'm the CMO at DSW. I like to call myself the chief shoe lover because I too love shoes. Being in the fashion industry is interesting. I love every minute of it, but it can be challenging to get a sense of where the business is moving, how fashion is moving, where the trends are. There's so much going on all the time, and retail moves so fast that it really is about being a champion of a customer-centric culture.
We chose to rebuild our loyalty program using Google Cloud because, really, our entire purpose is our customers. So it was very important for us to be more data-driven.
It's not just an IT solution solution. Our customers at DSW really expect an experience that they help drive. And with our previous platform, we were in a way inhibiting some of the ways DSW really wanted to interact with them.
The state of our loyalty program was a little bit rudimentary. We had not relaunched in probably over 10 years, and we were falling behind just a little bit in the marketplace.
Google Cloud gave us speed, flexibility, scalability, as well as a data-driven platform to understand our customers better. And with the new real-time loyalty program, we give them a platform for self-expression, really let them own the experience.
I call it a crown jewel because it's measured in tens of millions. I mean, we have north of 90% of our transactions going through our loyalty program.
I think between Google Cloud, DSW, and Slalom, we really partnered well to change one of the most important programs they have for their customers. There's a sense of mojo that's important, and we're a team.
Working with Slalom has been, just like with Google, a true partnership. They bring a set of skills to the table that we didn't have here at DSW, but the key thing that they've been able to do for us is not just deliver a solution, but teach the solution as well. And now we use tools like Stackdriver and Apac APIs to enable real-time communication.
It's been fantastic. We have 28 million active members in our loyalty program. Our new customer rate is up 9%. We have a best-in-class retention rate. In addition, our customer can experience our loyalty program instantly. I've been in retail a long time, and I've never seen it like this. We're going to be doing some pretty amazing things.
Customer-centric, data-driven, real-time, speed, flexibility, and scale, delivering business value. As Amy Stevenson just shared, the speed of industry is moving fast, and businesses' ability to connect data and insights to match that speed of the business is no longer optional. And they're not alone. If we look at customers like Home Depot, who's saving millions by improving real-time inventory forecasting, or Ocado, the world's largest online-only grocery retailer. The Ocado business model takes advantage of consumers' shifting preferences and the links between digital technology and shopping experiences. With GCP, they have been able to improve delivery of analytics 80 times faster at 33% lower cost than their traditional data warehouse. And then we have Ulta, the largest beauty retailer in the United States. They've had incredible growth as a business. The leaders at Ulta Beauty recognized a huge opportunity to complement and enhance the shopping experience by helping beauty enthusiasts navigate through more than 500 brands and 25,000 products carried in their stores and online. They decided to leverage data from their successful rewards loyalty program to create and offer more unique and personalized experiences for their more than 30 million customers. Our partnership with Ulta Beauty has enabled increased engagement with customers in-store and online, and the creation of new tools and capabilities such as their virtual beauty advisor. This has allowed them to deliver tailored recommendations and help shoppers choose the right products. Of course, this has really driven customer loyalty and helped their business tremendously. Now let's talk about retail banking. Let's take a look at some of the leaders and what business value their partnership with Google Cloud has delivered. I want to start with ANZ Banking Group. They went from 5 days to 20 seconds to insight. Consumers increasingly expect personalized insight and rich customer recommendations. GCP has enabled ANZ to do this in a safe, secure, and privacy-sensitive way, improving their customer relationships. BNP Paribas needed a platform that would allow its marketers to align their efforts and synchronize their complex campaigns. With Google Cloud, they were able to unify and share data across their applications, reducing their application delivery from several months to 6 weeks. They improved productivity and more timely data from their marketing group, which helped them make better decisions. HSBC needed to extract meaningful insights with more than 100 petabytes of data and billions of transactions to run risk simulations and better detect financial crime. With Google Cloud, they achieved a 10x increase in delivery of analytics, helping them reduce risk and improve customer service, responding faster to customer needs. Well, what about healthcare? Let's hear from the Foundation for Precision Medicine about their partnership with Google Cloud and how it's enabling them to achieve their mission to detect Alzheimer's earlier and alter its trajectory.
My name is Robert Tabbs, and 5.5 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I knew none of the medications were working. The entire time was a downward spiral.
And I also lost my grandfather about 25 years ago to the disease. My family at the time felt like it was already too late to change the trajectory of the disease. And it breaks my heart when I hear the same stories today. The mission for Foundation for Precision Medicine is to bring AI and healthcare together to detect Alzheimer's early.
If you can detect Alzheimer's very early on, that is when the disease is most susceptible to treatment.
The data that we have access to are anonymized electronic healthcare records. We needed a HIPAA-compliant environment, which is why we use Google Cloud.
We're dealing with hundreds of variables on millions of patients, which generate billions of lines of data.
Google Cloud enables us to scale our operations, and with BigQuery ML, we're able to develop machine learning models faster and utilize our entire data. Being a nonprofit, we rely on our volunteers across the US, and Google Cloud really enabled us to do that. We wanted them to be able to apply machine learning on the data and look at trends themselves to empower them to come up with more innovative approaches to change the progression of the disease.
This work is so important to me because it helps us address this devastating illness that has no cure.
I heard somewhere that they said, don't forget that dots on the plot are people. And we really take that seriously.
Inspirational and powerful. Improving early detection of Alzheimer's. Now that's something we can all hope to speed up. They're not alone. The National Institute of Health accelerates the research on Parkinson's disease by processing 200 terabytes of data for 6,500 exomes in just 3.5 weeks instead of months. That data set was subsequently used to identify 6 new risk loci for Parkinson's disease, helping scientists better understand genetic risks for the disease. The consortium that they talked about spans more than 50 research institutes across the US and Europe. And they use GCP to partition the data and permission so that different buckets could be used for different organizations with the ability to view the data, ultimately speeding up the discovery and characterization of molecular changes associated with the debilitating disease. Athena Breast Healthcare Network from UCSF is another example of leveraging the power of GCP. They're testing a personalized risk-based approach to breast cancer screening versus the traditional one, which is a one-size-fits-all. Dr. Esserman compares this to like TSA pre-screen checking, where they're using a risk-based assessment to determine what type of screening the patient should require. This is based on a risk profile. The Athena team needed a more secure and efficient way to store and share mammogram data, returning results to their participants. Athena's not only improving their patient study recruitment and retention with more convenient and rewarding experiences, they're also improving women's healthcare, leveraging Google Cloud and a serverless and scalable data warehouse. You may be wondering, what about digital natives? It is my pleasure to be joined by Henry Lin, Senior Manager of Data Engineering from Reddit. Henry, we have been talking a lot about data and modernizing data warehouses and how critical that is for business value. Now, Reddit's a digital native, so surely you don't suffer from the same challenges that these traditional enterprises suffer.
Well, Jen, this is true. We are a digital native company, but we're also a 14-year-old company, and you know how fast tech moves. So as Reddit has scaled and grown, we have also had to modernize our warehouse quite a few times, and how we do analysis now is very different from when we started.
Well, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So 14 years ago, Reddit was, of course, what had just been a very small startup, right? Now, as we have scaled, we have since had to first move through the batch analysis phase. And so in many ways, this is how the old style of analysis was done, right? So analysis was difficult, and generally only a small, highly technical team can do a lot of this analysis. So we made the decision about 3 years ago to move to BigQuery and effectively be able to now democratize a lot of this analysis. And so now product managers, non-technical teams, anyone can run a SQL-like query and then be able to get the results. And this has since been a great boon to how well we run our own business.
Yeah, so this modernization to BigQuery, you talked a little bit about your internal customers and users. How has it helped you with your external customers?
When we first made this modernization to our new warehouse, this was also when we had made the decision to redesign our website. And to sort of set the stage there, like I mentioned, Reddit is a 14-year-old company, and for more than 10 of those years, our website actually did not change much. So as a result, the website had become, for lack of a better term, very dated, and it became very inaccessible to new users. But at the same time, our loyal user base, well, they didn't like change. They actually quite liked what they are seeing in front of them, right? So this redesign became one of the earliest platforms to be onboarded to this new BigQuery-based warehouse. And in doing so, we were able to understand how both new and old users were using the new redesign. And because of that, we were able to quickly iterate on this product. And we were very quickly able to shift the sentiment of the redesign from, call it neutral, to now being very positive. And that is an example of how we were able to, well, roll out a new product using BigQuery behind the scenes.
And it sounds like a lot of data.
It is. We have scaled from, and like call it a billion events, now approaching 20 billion events per day.
Wow. I am guessing with that modernization and that volume of data that it hasn't all been roses. Like, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced.
No, I wish I could say it was fine all the way. But no. So as we scaled, one of the things we began to notice was our query times had started to slip behind. And one of the big advantages of BigQuery was the query times had traditionally been much, much faster than traditional Hive-based setup that we had. So we told Google about this, and this is actually where Google Cloud really showed the cards. They told us about this new feature that I've been developing, which is called clustering. And it was effectively a way for us to manage our tables to optimize many of the types of queries we were running. So at the time, this was a feature they had just been developing, so it was pre-alpha. But they offered to go ahead and whitelist us into the feature as soon as it was ready. They did, and we saw some improvements. But then their engineers then worked directly with ours, and then we were able to unlock many of the query optimizations. And now as a result, our query times have been growing much more linearly in relationship to how much data we're seeing.
Yeah, that sounds like a really important improvement that we needed to make to the product, but also working closely with your engineers. You know, we hear this a lot, that Google engineers and our customer engineers working together is really a nice combination. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yes. So for my team, we are going to be a much smaller engineering team than what Google can provide, right? This is how things should be, right? So for starters, even just being able to visit Google's headquarters to tackle a lot of our problems was a great experience for a lot of the engineers, right? And so we were able to sit down, they were able to whiteboard the internals of how BigQuery worked, and we're able to then, of course, help us understand the entire performance of our entire pipeline, right? So this is a very different experience than traditionally if we were to say use an open source tool, we would be forced to, effectively read documentation, and that would be it.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about, you had been using other technology, and you chose to go with Google Cloud. And you talked a little bit about the performance of BigQuery, but why Google Cloud?
It had to start some query characteristics that I wouldn't have believed to be possible until Google showed us. Like I mentioned, in addition to being able to democratize a lot of the analysis, it also integrated very well with our existing Google Group setup because we were already Google Enterprise customers, right? So we were able to handle a lot of the internal user security concerns right off the bat. And on top of that, because we were able to use SQL-like queries and results returned easily within under a minute, we were able to rapidly iterate on a lot of the type of analysis we were able to do, right? So this also was a great improvement to how we were doing machine learning training. We were able to do a lot of dashboarding, a lot of applications like that, right? So we were able to use BigQuery to replace many of the components you typically would need individual engineering teams to build out.
Yeah, I think this is really powerful that we hear from a lot of customers, is this ability to, one, break down those silos of how we think about data and share data, but in a secure way, and a privacy-sensitive way, but also being able then to use things like machine learning built in.
That's right.
I think this is really quite powerful. We hear this a lot. Maybe share with our audience, what do you have your sights set on next?
Oh, that's a great question, Jen. So in many ways, now that Google has taken the workload off of us to manage the warehouse, we have now focused a lot of our engineering efforts on streaming applications. So streaming it's very exciting to us because it allows us to tackle certain problems before they even enter the warehouse, right? And so, for example, like frameworks like Flink are now coming onto the scene, and it allows us to build aggregates in a way that's traditionally, again, like it's a new frontier, right? It's in a way that we have traditionally not been able to tackle. So that is something that my engineering team now is deeply invested in, and frankly, very excited about.
Yeah, we hear this a lot. I mentioned it earlier, but this idea of the world is moving to more of a streaming world, and being able to do batch and streaming in the same, sort of infrastructure and same platform is really powerful.
That's right.
And so I think, we've heard a lot of excitement around this, and look forward to what you're going to be doing there. But maybe before we leave, any advice for our viewers? With your experience on this platform, I think they would be very keenly interested in what advice you might have.
So it surprises me the number of organizations that don't realize this, including Reddit. So when we first moved from this model of, again, having a very centralized team doing all the analysis to a generalized platform in which any employee could do analysis, well, you're going to start seeing a lot of your employees just sharing queries by email, even just sometimes printing them out and handing out in hallways. I don't know why they do that. So you're very rapidly going to find yourself having 5 or 6 queries all doing the same thing, but all doing something slightly very different, right? And that's going to be a problem. So my advice to anyone who's considering this new model, please have a query repository. It can be a Git repository. It could really even just be a folder in which everyone just writes their queries into, right? And doing this will give you one centralized source in which you can manage everyone's different snippets and how they're analyzing your own data.
This reminds me of the old days of reports. Like one report, everyone would make copies and do one little modification of it. And then you get this explosion of slightly different things that really gets unmanageable. So really great advice. It's been awesome to have you with us. Thank you. I know that our viewers appreciate your insight, and we certainly appreciate your partnership.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. So you heard from Henry at Reddit and others, a modern data warehouse is really an integral part of a broader smart analytics platform. Google Cloud's platform allows you to take advantage of your data and deliver business value in the demands of a modern business. Simplifying the life cycle of your data at scale, so connecting, collecting, processing, analyzing, and visualizing, all in a single platform across your applications and systems, operationalizing your insights. Our platform delivers end-to-end security from the data center all the way to the device with a purpose-built infrastructure and security by default. We strive to make cloud easy to use. We try to automate the manual tasks and configuration wherever possible. We try to embed intelligence. We talked about machine learning embedded inside of BigQuery, so that your organization can better take advantage of machine learning and the power of it. And lastly, we bring you the best of Google in our solutions. We can help you create a more innovative and collaborative culture in your organization. At the heart of Google Cloud's Smart Analytics platform is Google BigQuery. You heard Henry talk about it, and you saw it in a number of our other customers. BigQuery is Google Cloud's highly scalable and modern enterprise data warehouse. It's fully managed and serverless. It offers real-time insights from streaming data, has built-in machine learning out of the box, and has a high-speed in-memory BI engine to make it faster for reporting and analysis. BigQuery is really designed to make your data analysts and data scientists more productive. And it's a secure offering that has data encryption by default. But why are customers using BigQuery? Well, first, acceleration of time to value that we've heard over and over again, up and running in seconds, querying gigabytes or petabytes of data with standard SQL, automatically moving data from hundreds of popular SaaS tools and applications with data transfer service, or integrating and transforming your data with easy-to-use tools like Cloud Data Fusion, federating queries with public and private commercial data sets. The second reason is really around this idea of real-time insights. You can use BigQuery's high-performance streaming ingestion service, streaming IoT data, or building comprehensive batch and streaming data pipelines with like Cloud Pub Sub and Cloud Data Flow. We really want you to realize, like our customers, the power of advanced and predictive analytics. This is why we built machine learning into BigQuery. You can also use AutoML tables to access the data within BigQuery. Or you can use something more sophisticated like Cloud Machine Learning Engine or even TensorFlow and the integrations with BigQuery. There's also geospatial analytics with BigQuery GIS. So we want to share data insights. Henry mentioned this. We're sharing across the organization, but in a privacy-sensitive way. We analyze large and complex data sets interactively with sub-second query performance. And of course, we protect your data so that you can operate with trust. A modern data warehouse is secure and reliable data warehouse. And we understand that when your business depends on data, security and reliability are mission critical. BigQuery offers a 99.9% uptime SLA. It has built-in data protection at scale with encryption both at rest and in transit. Things like VPC controls and data replication across regions when guided by the safe harbor agreements. Our customers also secure and govern their data with industry-leading tools and technologies so that they can support HIPAA and other regulatory compliance. And this includes our cloud identity access management for fine-grained access control and identity management. Also things like data loss prevention for classifying and redacting sensitive data, or data catalog for metadata management and data discovery. Of course, we have a broad ecosystem of partners so that you can enable seamless integration. Tap into our ecosystem of SIs and data integration partners to help you on your end-to-end migration. And make the most of maybe some of your existing investments, like BI tools or data ingestion or integration tools. We know that the demands of your business, like those of many of those customers that we talked about today, are changing. And your customers are demanding more. Data is critical, and modernization of your data strategy and your platform is paramount. Let us help you modernize your data warehouse and enable you to operate with that agility and efficiency that the modern business demands. So let's get started. We're happy to set up a technical deep dive workshop and get to a proof of value in maybe as little as a week. Thank you for tuning into the future of your data warehouse. Stay tuned for more content from Google Cloud thought leaders, experts, and customers. Speaking of customers, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Henry from Reddit again for joining us. And be sure to visit cloudonair.withgoogle.com to find out more.
Digital officers. So really looking forward to that session as well. Also, if you were in track 1, Jen and Henry did a fantastic job there. So Jen from our Office of the CTO and Henry, the Senior Data Engineering for Reddit. So really sharing some of the insights there for a massive website such as Reddit, being able to ingest all of that data and get real insights out of that. So thank you also for all of the questions that are coming in through the Q&A. So please use the Q&A button, the bottom selection here on your left, and ask us questions. We do have experts standing by ready to assist. So with that, please take a look, choose the session you would like to join next, enjoy, and I'll be back with you in just a moment.
Hi there. Welcome to Google Cloud's Global Digital Conference, The Future of Your Data Warehouse. My name is Chad, and today we're going to be talking about 5 considerations for chief data officers to increase agility and unlock innovation. So at any time during our live session, you can ask questions on the platform, and Googlers are standing by to answer them. So let's get started. As I said, my name is Chad. I'm a product manager on BigQuery. And let's start looking back a little bit. So data has always been mission critical for organizations, like regardless of the era and regardless of the industry. What's really interesting and different about our current era is the different size of industry and the different size of the data that we're all trying to deal with. The industry has grown massively, certainly in the last 50 years, and data has undergone its scaling up in the last 15 or so. What's interesting about this is that, so we all know about the increase in the prevalence of data, the increase of the value of analytics, and the increase of the volume of data. But still, data and analytics remains largely untapped. Almost 70% of companies report that they have not yet created a data-driven organization, and 71% report that they have yet to forge a data culture. So as chief data officers, we have a lot of work yet to do to build up that culture. And so in so doing, there are these 5 things that we wanted to focus on in this talk to help you frame your thinking and identify the most important categories. So first we'll talk about economics and infonomics. Then we'll talk about security and governance. Then we'll get into the fun stuff, some advanced analytics features inside of GCP and BigQuery. And we're going to talk about how that then generates speed of innovation, building a data culture, and ultimately democratizing insights throughout your organization. All right. We're going to present this in the context of BigQuery. It applies to GCP as a whole, but we're going to focus on examples from BigQuery just to give the talk a little bit of focus. Plus, we only have half an hour, right? BigQuery is Google Cloud's enterprise data warehouse. Features include things like it goes super fast over super big sets of data. So we have customers that run queries over petabytes, and those same customers also run queries over gigabytes or megabytes. The infrastructure the same. You don't need to worry about scaling up your infrastructure to handle those use cases. You just let your users go for it. The data is encrypted, durable. It's encrypted both at rest and in flight. And the way that we achieve that scale that I described before is that BigQuery is fully managed and serverless. We'll get into what that means in detail a little bit, but broadly it means you don't have to worry about the infrastructure. We have a streaming API, so you can do real-time analytics on streaming data. The analytical tools we'll talk about later on are built-in machine learning and built-in geospatial processing. I also wanted to highlight that we have a high-speed in-memory BI engine for interactive dashboarding. So without further ado, let's get into it. Economics. Really, it is a ticket to play, right? If the solution isn't economically viable for your company, then it's just not going to happen. But I wanted to start with this concept of infonomics. So to start off from the Harvard Business Review, do you know what your company's data is worth? There's been some interesting research of late finding a correlation between CDOs that are generating metadata tags in for their information assets that are related to the exact economic value. So relating the value of your data assets to either company's revenue, company's costs, or gross margin has a profound impact on your ability to generate data-driven insights. And it's not just because somehow that number percolates through into your analysis, but the value of those analyses is far easier to calculate when you're recording metadata of that nature. Also parallel to that research, we've also found that for CDOs that do metrics based on usage, also derive value from this. They can also talk about which of their tables get hit the most, et cetera. However, they're less effective at generating that data-driven culture inside their company when compared to their colleagues who are using actual financial metrics as assets. So I wanted to bring that up here as something that we should, that you, as you figure out how you are moving, keep that one in mind. That one's an important one. And part of the reason I wanted to bring it up is we have a way to manage that data. So Data Catalog is our fully managed and scalable data discovery and metadata management service. Into that, you can add any sort of tag you want, including an infonomic tag if you so desired. So let's talk about economics, right? If this new solution is more expensive than the last, then why bother with it? Fortunately, that is not the case here. So an analyst firm has conducted a study evaluating the total cost of ownerships between on-prem, enterprise data warehouse, and then the costs of running and migrating that on the cloud. And BigQuery is the farthest right column in our bar chart here. And you can see that according to this study, the customer here is enjoying a 50% lower TCO over 3 years compared to the on-prem solution. We actually find that number pretty well borne out in the evidence. Ocado, a customer of ours, the largest online grocer in the UK, found a 33% cost reduction when they migrated from their on-prem system, as well as 80x faster delivery of their analytics. And State Auto, their query times on the right-hand side, the lower section of text, after moving to Google, they saw their queries go down from hours to minutes. And then they also found a 55% reduction in their maintenance costs. So we're finding that our customers are actually seeing these finance benefits realized when they migrate. Wanted to also point out here that Google spends an awful lot of time and energy and money making our data centers the most efficient in the industry. So we don't need to buy a lot of extra energy because our data centers are efficient. For the energy that we do buy, we also purchase carbon offsets and we purchase renewable energy. So if being carbon neutral is important to your organization, one way to accomplish that is to move your infrastructure and your data analytics to BigQuery, and we'll make that pledge to you. Okay, let's move on to security, governance, and reliability. Really, peace of mind is what this section is about, and it's composed of these 4 elements that you see on the screen here. We'll take them in order. So Google Cloud, over the last 3 years, has spent $47 billion on infrastructure, and this powers cloud and Google's other products as well. And what that brings to you is a set of infrastructure all over the world. So we have 20 regions all over the world. Security is baked into these data centers from the ground up. There's incredible physical security at them. Actually, I haven't visited one of them, but I hear you even have to do a retinal scan to get into them. And so that physical security is mirrored in the data layers as well. Every layer of either network transmission or storage or compute has levels of encryption built in right at the chip level. As we're investing in our infrastructure, we have regions all over the world. As I said, BigQuery, if you have data residency restrictions to adhere to in your business, BigQuery can service you. We're in 14 regions right now, and BigQuery is now a part of every new region turn-up that GCP has. So as I mentioned, the security is really baked into the DNA of our data center, and really it starts with securing the bits. But securing the bits has a couple different flavors. So we have encryption by default, both in flight and at rest. However, customers sometimes want additional layers of encryption, and so we use envelope encryption to use customer-managed encryption keys. And if that's not secure enough for you, you want to bring your own keys, you can use hardware security model with Google Cloud so that you can bring and manage your own keys on your own. What's exciting about this is A, we support these different levels of security, and B, only about 60% of companies, 60% of companies lack an enterprise-wide encryption strategy. However, if you do your work here on Google Cloud Platform, we give you access to that encryption strategy for your entire organization by default. Reliability. So on-prem systems, as we all know, are difficult to maintain. You have to do software updates. You have to manage the hardware and the physical infrastructure, the energy and the cooling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the real strengths of BigQuery and GCP is you can absolutely outsource all of that to Google. So within BigQuery, we handle reliability automatically so that you don't have to. So there are no virtual machines to manage within BigQuery. We have automatic replication of your data for increased durability. And we maintain a 99.9% uptime SLA so that you can base production workloads inside of BigQuery and know that that's going to be running 99.9% of the time. Also want to point out that any changes to tables in the last 7 days are queryable. So you can do what's called time travel. So you can query the state of a table at any time up to the last 7 days. And then data, as I said before, is encrypted by default at rest and in transit. So let's talk a little bit more about BigQuery's managed storage. This is a real strength of the product because you don't need to manage files and you don't need to, if your data is sharded, you don't need to be the one that's worrying about how to shard that data. So the schematic here shows 3 tables, and then underneath is the storage infrastructure that's supporting those 3 tables. So inside a single region, each table you'll see is replicated in zone A, B, and C. So that's for durability, and these are all hot swappable, meaning that if there's an issue in zone A, you'll simply use the data in zone B and the customer will never know about it. In addition to this, if you're using multi-regional BigQuery, we'll also create another copy of your data off-region for data durability. If you're using a single region inside of BigQuery, then your data stays in there because adhering to your data residency requirements is the priority. Okie doke, governance. So governance is all about who can do what with which asset and when. So we accomplish data governance primarily through cloud identity and access management. And so this allows you to set IAM controls, and you can set various levels of authority to any asset you want. We also have fine-grained access controls, so you can set those controls down to the row and column level. Metadata management, we talked about this a little bit before with data catalog. It'll come up again in just a second. The DLP is a very interesting thing. We'll get into that. And then sharing will cover that a little bit later on in the democratization. So the data loss prevention API is a really interesting feature, and I wanted to spend a bit of time on it. So with this API, you can send data to it, and then you can also specify the level of redaction that you want. And the API will automatically go into your table and find the levels of PII that you've specified, like phone numbers, email addresses, social security numbers, and then redact them in the returned result. So you can create derivative tables with varying levels of redaction for whatever your privacy policy is. So that's a pretty cool feature here. Data catalog. So this is in beta right now. We launched it at Next last year. And so this is a GCP-wide, and focused right here on BigQuery, catalog of data. So you can use this to search through tables and to find things. And we talked about with the infonomics, if you're adding infonomic metadata to your tables, you can search for what are my highest value data assets, and then ensuing what are the analyses that are running on those, and how can I, as the CDO, how can I leverage them better or more in the organization? Okay, so trust. Trust is not something that one earns on one day. Trust is an ongoing conversation. Trust is something that Google earns every day. So we wanted to make couple things really clear here. The first one is, when you come to Google Cloud, you own your data. Google does not access or scan your data for any reason other than those necessary to fulfill our contractual obligations. So for example, BigQuery has managed storage, as we saw in that slide earlier. And as you add, say, new rows to one of those tables, maybe the yellow one, you add new rows to those tables, we may have to reshard your data because we don't want the files that in our native file system to get too skewed. So we will reshard the data. That would be access of your data that we need to do to maintain the service. So when we do things like that, access transparency, the second paragraph here, we will log it so that you will always know when a Google system or a Google person has looked at your data and why. So, and we've also published our cloud trust principles so that you can look and see what are the policies and what are the practices that Google is adhering to, not just on day 1, but on day 100 and day 1000 and day 10,000 of our relationship. Also, in terms of trust, we've earned the trust of some accreditors around the world. I just wanted to put this slide up here in case your industry is governed by one of these certification bodies. For example, in the US, FedRAMP and HIPAA, so government or healthcare. We've been working very hard over the last 2 years to really build out the number of accreditations so that we don't block users' usage. All right, we've done the table stakes. Let's get to the fun stuff now. So the more types of analysis that BigQuery can do for you, the more useful you're going to find the product. So our goal here is to build out more and more types of analyses. In the metaphor of this slide, more colored boxes on this slide means you can do more and more interesting work. So we have the core data warehousing functionality. In the advanced analytics section of this talk, we're going to be focusing in on BigQuery ML and BigQuery GIS. So there are a bunch of different types of people in your organization that want to do ML. So the columns on this chart: developer, analyst, data scientist. We have ML products and services that are designed to hit their skill set so that they can make use of it. We're going to be concentrating right now on BigQuery ML, those kind of middle two boxes aimed at the data analyst. BigQuery ML is all about writing ML models or creating ML models and doing ML predictions inside of BigQuery SQL. So we've invented a couple new SQL verbs: create model, predict, and you can, as the animation here shows, you can just type your SQL in and create these models. BigQuery actually does a lot of the hard stuff for you. So you want to train on a particular table, we'll actually figure out what the optimal split between training data and evaluation data is. We'll do the one-hot encoding. We'll scale the parameters. Essentially, we're doing a lot of the feature engineering so that you don't have to. We also support a number of different models, from logistic regression, linear regression. The one I wanted to point out here is the matrix factorization to do recommendation engines. That one's a really interesting one, so I do encourage you to reach out to your account team and see if they can get you into the alpha program for that one. We've had some really interesting results with that one so far. Also wanted to touch on another market differentiator. So with BigQuery, you can write ML models inside of SQL. That's pretty novel. That doesn't exist elsewhere in the marketplace. Also, geospatial analyses. So BigQuery is the only cloud MPP data warehouse to have first-class support for geospatial types and functions. So if you have location data, line strings, polygons, or points, you can analyze them with standard, if you're a PostGIS user, BigQuery GIS is going to feel very familiar to you. We also have this tool, BigQuery GeoViz, and the functionality of this tool is, hey, I'm an analyst. I want to see my results on a map. Here's the query. Let's run it. Let's see the results on the map as the animation is showing you here. We've got a couple, and I'll just dive into one of them here. We've got an interesting combination of ML and GIS that our customer and partner, Geotab, did. So walking across this slide from left to right, the top left here are sensor boxes that Geotab puts into vehicles of its customers. And their customers are people who have large fleets of vehicles, either cities or delivery vehicles, things like that. They have over 1 million equipped vehicles in the United States right now. And amongst those 1 million vehicles, they're sending to BigQuery more than 2.5 billion streaming inserts every day. And those streaming inserts have information like, here's my location, here's what my velocity is, this is the current acceleration, are the windshield wipers on, i.e. is it raining, what's the air temperature, things like that. So Geotab combined, using BigQuery ML, their traffic data derived from those sensors, and the public weather data sets that are hosted in BigQuery public data sets, and some external GIS data defining the polygons of cities. And the image we have here is of Chicago. They brought that all together in BigQuery ML and BigQuery GIS, and they created this application where, say, a city planner in Chicago, on the right-hand bar there, can dial up some weather conditions and then use an ML model to protect areas of hazardous driving behavior, as marked by stomping on the brakes or swerving or behaviors like that. So these are places where they either need to revisit the signage or pre-position extra sand or something like that. But I thought this was a really interesting example of taking two differentiating factors for BigQuery and combining them into a really interesting application. All right, so how does that help the speed of innovation? Well, in a nutshell, if you're not doing all the stuff indicated in gray on this slide, you've got more time to do the fun analysis, the type we just talked about with the Geotab example. So you don't have to do performance tuning, monitoring, you don't have to worry as much about reliability. We handle that for you, so you get to spend 100% of your time on analysis and insights. I also want to point out that BigQuery is not alone. BigQuery is part of an ecosystem of products from GCP that take care of every stage of your data pipeline. So first, we handle both batch and streaming. We have products like Data Prep and Data Fusion to handle cleansing and processing and ingesting of data. ML products, we have a variety of those for understanding. BigQuery for analysis. You can then visualize your results, say, in Looker or any other BI tool. We're focusing here on speed of innovation. StubHub has an interesting story. On the quote on the left, we've seen query times go down from hours to minutes, and they've also been able to create, the middle dialog box there, create a scalable recommendation platform inside of BigQuery using some of the tools that I've described already. I wanted to choose a healthcare example here. Their queries are operating 100x faster than they used to and allowing them to look at 100x larger data sets. So that definitely speaks to increasing the speed of innovation. And that plays directly into how you democratize insights around your company. Because if people are able to use the tools and get the answers they want more quickly, they'll be able to do much more work, and they'll be able to share that work. So data sharing within BigQuery is amazingly easy. It is additionally very well structured and governed by ACLs. So you can share data sets with folks, and you can also control their access with access control lists, or the cloud identity access and management that we discussed a little earlier. So what's interesting about this is within BigQuery, when you do share a data set, you don't have to move that data ever. Right? It's sitting inside a data set, and now you just give a new person access to it. So whether that person is in London or Tokyo or New York or California, they can all have access to the same data pursuant to the access controls that you install. Not everybody speaks SQL though. And so we've integrated BigQuery with Google Sheets. So here in this example, an analyst might go ahead and add a SQL query to a sheet and then share that sheet around with a variety of what we might call business users. So folks who don't speak SQL, but who certainly speak sheets and pivot charts and diagramming or charting within Sheets. This has been a real unblocker for folks like Yahoo, where they've been able to spread their data insights to far more groups than just their analysts. Also getting to this theme of speed, we launched the BI engine recently, and this provides interactive dashboarding within Data Studio, Sheets, and some BI partner tools. And so what you do is now you can have a petabyte-sized data set inside of BigQuery, do an analysis, and then pull out the section of it that's relevant for whatever dashboard you are going to create. And then that dashboard can be powered by that smaller data set at interactive speeds. All of this can happen, of course, without having to move data from source A to source B. It all resides inside of BigQuery. All right, so quick recap. We're down to the last couple minutes here. So we talked about economics, infonomics, which I think is a very interesting topic. I think we're going to hear a lot more about that in the coming months. We covered security, a couple real fun advanced analytics toys to go play with, and how those analytics toys and the scale and speed that BigQuery has allow you to deliver innovation and insights faster to help spread the adoption of data and analytics throughout your company, both by building that data culture and by giving folks tools that are tailored to their skill sets. So a bunch of other folks have discovered some of the goodness that comes from using BigQuery. We've got some world-class brands here on the slide. I would love to see your logo here the next time I do this talk next year. So in addition to the customers, some of the industry analysts have also been recognizing the work that BigQuery and GCP is doing, and Gartner and Forrester have both recognized us a leader in their respective analyses. And so with that, we're done. Thanks for joining me for the last little bit. If you want to go check out some more information, go to google.com/BigQuery. All the docs are there, customer use stories. It's a really good resource. And so with that, thank you very much for tuning into the future of your data warehouse. Stay tuned for more content from Google Cloud thought leaders, experts, and customers. And be sure to visit cloudonair.withgoogle.com to find out more, and you can pose your questions there as well. Thanks very much.
Great, welcome back everyone. Shirley, Welcome back to you as well. So I guess maybe let's take it back a little bit, since you did the first session and you couldn't join me for the wrap up for that one. But yeah, how did your first session go?
Oh, I think it went pretty well, and even right after my first session, I already got a lot of questions on the website, and I was trying to answer some of it. I feel people are really involved into our sessions, and some of them have already started thinking about a real database migration.
Right, yeah, looking up their own use cases. And once again, thank you so much to Kent for joining us from Informatica, sharing their stories and sharing their technology around how they can migrate data or help our customers migrate data. Also, thanks to Chad for that brilliant session. And Chad actually comes from a long line of startups before he joined Google.
Okay.
So it's always interesting to get his insights in terms of how how Chad has worked previously and how innovation and how quickly things are changing in the big data space.
Yeah, I heard that the chat introduced that if you are in a C-suite in your business or organization, you have big decisions to make, and you may want some list of consideration point before you really make a business decision, and to really make your business agile after this data warehouse modernization.
Great. And welcome back to track 2 as well. So some fantastic sessions that we've just had. So we were just talking about Chad Jennings and his session around the Chief Digital Officers. Also, welcome back to track 3 as well. Joining us back from Graham Merrill and Manjit Singh's session from Hike. So again, really interesting perspectives in changing around new technologies, innovation and agility for digital officers and data officers, and also changing how organizations have to operate in this new modern data warehousing world.
Yeah. And in the track 2, that when we talking about machine learning and how BigQuery unlock innovation, I believe that the Bayesian statistics demo that shown to do it in the BigQuery machine learning also is very impressive session. And I hope you found it useful and impressive that even a very, very big data set can be interactively queried in the BigQuery.
Yeah, and Lak Lakshmanan has been with us for a long time, doing lots of work around TensorFlow as well, but really embedding machine learning into a tool like BigQuery and just making it easier for a data engineer to go in and build these same sorts of models is pretty amazing.
Yeah. When you see that BigQuery can be working with TensorFlow, it's I myself feel it's pretty excited that a lot of work has been taken care of by the platform, and we just focusing on the insights and the business logic things on this data warehouse.
Yeah, I was actually hearing another one of our engineers say it used to be that you used to have to wait on your data, and now your data is just kind of there waiting for you, right, to sort of ask the right questions and get those insights.
Yeah, and you really just need to maintain one copy of your data. You don't need to move your data to somewhere for the data scientists to analyze analysis or move it elsewhere for the reporting generation. Now you just use BigQuery as the central place as a single copy of your data, and you can do all those business scenarios.
Great, so hit that second icon, take a look at what sessions are coming up. Please continue to ask questions. We do have live experts standing by, ready to assist. We hope you enjoy your session, and we'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, see you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Google Cloud's Global Digital Conference, Future of Your Data Warehouse. My name is Evren Eryurek. You can ask your questions on our platform, and Googlers are standing by to answer all of them. Let's get started. Let's talk about security. So we're all targets of the cybersecurity, right? Take a look at all the attacks that we've been seeing on the media. You've seen all of them. You're living them every single day, costing millions and billions of dollars for many of the enterprise companies. It's not just the money that's got the cost. It's the reputation. It's how we're going to recover, how we're going to gain the trust of everyone after all these accidents happen. The breaches happen all the time. Look at it, 71% of the breaches are undetected. It's costing billions. It's costing prices to the publicly owned companies. Now, if you talk to every one of the enterprise companies, look at the study. Top 3 things why they're holding back on adopting wider cloud adoption is security, data loss, and regulatory. What's the delta? Why is this happening? Let's talk about it a little bit. If you look at this chart, you will see the world where you are living in on-prem and where many of the companies are moving towards where they're actually adopting software as a service. Take a look at simultaneously what each and every one of you are responsible achieving to protect the data that you're managing, protect the customer assets, the governance around it, the transparencies, and all of that is absolutely on you when you're fully doing it on your on-prem. As you move up on the stack, responsibilities change. Your partners take on some of that responsibility. And I'm here to share with you what we do in Google Cloud to really make it very easy for you on a platform that we have defined and developed over the years to achieve the highest level of reliability, security, and governance, and the trust that we built around all our technologies. All the enterprises need all these 4 tenets, if you look at it, to achieve the solutions that they're looking at it. Before I go further, let's see what others are telling about us. Google Cloud and our security fundamentals had the highest score in the strategy category when you look at the 7 vendors that was evaluated by Forrester's Wave. If you look at the 13 vendors that were evaluated similar to this, again, Google Cloud won the highest category on the security principles and the strategy that we have applied and implemented across Google Cloud. It's in here, all the fundamentals that we talk about, the protection, the control, the compliance, what you need in the core infrastructure, all the controls that you need for policy management, regulatory compliance, and the responsibilities, who can access what and where, it is all fundamental to our platform. This is how we've been operating it. We made it available to everyone. And I'll walk you through some of this, but our security is built in. It's not bolted on. From hardware all the way to the highest levels of usage, it's all designed by purpose, built with this in mind. We don't have Patch Tuesdays. Everything is built with this in mind. Let's go a little bit into it. I don't expect every one of you to read and really follow the details in here. But in here, I want to show you the depth that we provide at each level. We have a purpose-built hardware. We have a purpose-built operating system, purpose-built network, purpose-built storage. All this enables the highest levels of security that you need at the enterprises that you want to provide solutions. This is here for you to have the peace of mind with our robust technologies, for you to achieve these highest levels of security, reliability, highest levels of governance, and trust. This is all for you to be able to run your business with peace of mind. I want to cover a little bit more on BigQuery and how we do it in BigQuery, which is built on top of this massively scalable and secure platform, and what we do more on BigQuery. Its robust security controls is here to help you as the businesses, from the intrusions, attacks, exfiltration, whatever you can think of. I mentioned that we have these purpose-built chips, the servers, storage, at each level. BigQuery takes advantage of entire infrastructure when we make it available to you. It's encryption in transit, at rest, availability of the customer-managed encryption keys. This is key. You get to define your own key. You get to choose, and however you want to manage it, this is your key, and we provide all these for you. The Titan chip, some of you have heard it. With it, it's built in so that you can actually know that at the root of the hardware that we have, without that chip, nothing will operate. We have the purpose-built servers, and its storage, and its network. If we find any kind of a vulnerability on the hardware and the software, no downtime is required to patch it. We live this thing every single day and globally. This entire network is supporting the alphabet companies. All of this is designed for Google solutions. We provide this, and BigQuery takes advantage of this entire network, entire infrastructure to provide you the solutions that you need. Just like we have it for YouTube, our ads team, and Gmail team. If you look at how we help you manage in an automated way, how we help you build your own trust, we also help you to secure the bits. On Google Cloud, every single one of our customers, 100% of Google Cloud has encrypted data. This is for you to have the peace of mind. If you look at it, you want to be able to manage, you want to be able to actually apply your own policies, you want to be able to do this thing remotely. Through our VPC service controls, you define your security perimeters. You mitigate the data exfiltration risks. You look at where you're going to enforce and how you're going to do it and how you're going to manage your policies. We provide this for you, and you can do it from your on-prem systems. This is what we design the Google Cloud and BigQuery for you. And we provide you full access transparency. This is our commitment to you as our customers. We provide you access to logs, access to who touched what, when, and why, to all our cloud customers. We provide it for all enterprises in real time, and you can actually service these through the APIs that we have. You can see it in the command centers that we have. It's all in your fingertips. This is our commitment to the access transparency. Now, it's not just about security. It is about reliability. As a former senior VP and CTO of a very large public company, this is what the tenet was for me. I had to make sure the enterprise solutions that I was providing had the security, reliability, availability. All of it is very important for your customers. If you look at your on-prem solutions, it's very hard. I know it, I lived it myself. You have to deal with the software updates. You have to deal with the network changes. You have to deal and have a dedicated IT system and services organization to provide this for you day in, day out. It is not easy. It is not inexpensive. It requires quite a bit of orchestration. Over and above what you want to do for your customers, this is something that you have to take on to manage this. But when you look at Google Cloud, at each level, in this purpose-built infrastructure, at each level, from hardware to the highest level, we have the infrastructure, the software, the services intertwined with security, redundancy, and reliability in mind. This is how we can actually make things much easier for you. And all this happens with no interruption, with no disruption, at full scale. Any change we do happens to you seamlessly. We do not have Patch Tuesdays. You remember about a year ago or so, we had discovered a massive, massive flaw in one of the semiconductors broadly used across the world. When we discovered this was all done through our dedicated security experts. We have near 1,000 experts globally working on this thing and doing the research. This was something, for decades, it was sitting there. It was our team who discovered this and actually informed the rest of the technology companies about this vulnerability. We seamlessly fixed the problem. We updated faster than anybody else. Actually, after we informed everyone, things got improved and so forth. We discovered another and easier, better fix. We did that for everybody. None of our customers even noticed a performance change, anything in their systems when they were using it. But many others, you may remember, had to actually take down their systems and deal with these upgrades and so forth. Our commitment to you is our changes is not going to disrupt your operations. It is designed for your enterprise needs. BigQuery handles all this reliability automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. It uses and leverages the infrastructure that we have on Google Cloud with no virtual machines. You don't need to worry about managing it. It's highly durable, totally redundant. It has the replication on your data, total auto failovers for you, and the data is encrypted at transit and rest. This is all the requirements of the enterprise companies. On top, you are operating globally. Wherever you need your data to rest and be resident, we help you meet those requirements. We're fully aware of the global compliance requirements. This is exactly why we have this regional deployment so that you can meet your customer needs, your own needs, whatever the regional requirements, compliance requirements are. Now let's talk about governance, how you do it in BigQuery, and how we make that easy for you as well. Now, governance is all about who can do what on which resources. This is a key tenet. If you think about what we're doing is, your customers are actually requiring from you to really provide them the tools that they can actually provide governance on their capabilities. Out of the box, from BigQuery, data governance and access management is easy to use for you. You have fine-grained access controls through our Cloud IAM system. You have, through our data catalog system, and metadata management and data discovery for all your data assets. With our data loss prevention services, you can discover, you can classify, and you can redact all the sensitive data automatically on BigQuery. And you can enable shared data sets securely, the way that you want it, to share your services, your data, whatever you choose to, with your customers, with your ecosystems, very easily using these native services on BigQuery. We provide you tools to provide the detailed access controls at the user level, at the group level, at the domain level. You can make things publicly available, or you can make the views authorized and provide certain views of the data sets that you're actually choosing. It's all up to you. You're in charge, you're in driver's seats. Out of the box, you have these predefined IAM roles. You can actually set them and leave it as is. We got requests from you. You wanted to create some custom roles, and we announced that it's already in beta. You can mix and match now permissions and create your own custom rules on top of the roles that we have on how you can provide access. It's not enough. We are providing even finer grained access controls at the column levels, and we're talking about how we can actually make these things available for you at each of the rows and so forth, so that you have total control, not only on your data, who can access, what they can access, what columns they can access, and what groups can access. I mentioned data catalog. It is the metadata management system that we have. It's a fully managed, scalable system. It's integrated already in BigQuery. It simplifies discovering your data. What types of data you have, what is in it, it crawls through it and actually enables every one of your users that you authorize to see what's in there. And we provide a built-in governance with Cloud DLP so that you don't accidentally show any data to anybody who's not supposed to see it. Data loss prevention directly scans it and obfuscates the data that you don't want to show per your definitions. And this is something you can train, you can change. It's not just social security numbers and phone numbers and so forth. It could be some certain specific numbers that you want to obfuscate, that you want to train, and you can make that happen as well. Authorized views to the limited data access. You can define a view. You can say these types of users can have access to these views. It is also within your reach, within your control. We provided all this to you so that you can do your job much easier with peace of mind. That wasn't enough. We went out, we invited, we continue to get audits by the third parties. And we get all the certifications needed for you to have the confidence and trust that you can actually build and deploy your own solutions on BigQuery. All this is globally available for you. It's all about the trust when it comes to these things. Transparency and our commitments to earn your trust, to protect and manage your own data. Remember, it is your data. We do not access to your data other than contractually what we have to do to manage it for you. It's in our access transparency rules. We cover this thing in detail. We perform regular audits by third parties to improve our effectiveness, to show what we're doing, and we are very transparent about it. We share this thing with all of you, and you can actually go and read on details about the trust principles that we have. Know that your security comes first for us. It's our first and foremost important principle for you. You control what happens to your own data. It's your data, not used anywhere else. We get this a lot. It's not used anywhere else. It is your data, not used for advertising. You need to know where your data is stored. We're transparently showing. You can come and say, I want my data to be stored in this part of the world, and that's what will happen. We never give any government entity any backdoor access to your data or to our servers storing your data. These are our principles around trust, and we published this. It's available to everyone. You can go and read more about it. Here's a few things some of our customers have been telling us. Look at what Zulily, product manager, told us. It's all about the confidence that they have in our security and reliability. They were able to achieve what they wanted to achieve once they saw what they were getting with Google Cloud. With that peace of mind, they were able to achieve a lot more in their own businesses. Take a look at HSBC, one of the global banks headquartered in Europe. You can imagine how much goes through behind in terms of reliability, security, compliance when it comes to banking. It's their first and foremost responsibility for their own clients. When they chose Google Cloud, security and how we do what we do on Google Cloud made it easy for them to really decide how they were going to work with us. Another one from New York City Cyber Command System. This is a government industry. They serve. And you know the regulations around governments. And it was very easy for us to meet their needs through the tools, through the systems, through the capabilities that we have in Google Cloud and in BigQuery. We were able to provide whatever they needed for their uses. You can learn a lot more about what we do in Google Cloud. We've written white papers. We've written a lot of customer testimonials. We've shared all of this for you. And you can find out more about about BigQuery and how we do it and how we made these available for the users. And we're here to answer every one of your questions. Thank you for tuning into the future of your data warehouse. Stay tuned for more content from Google Cloud thought leaders, experts, and customers. Please visit cloudonair.withgoogle.com for more.
Another amazing session, another set of amazing sessions.
Exactly.
So it's really interesting, especially Everin talking about some of the data security things in his track and how important data is and how it's important to have that really as a solid foundation for everything that you do on the cloud and at Google. And really at Google, we are talking about sort of a security first kind of approach. So being able to put that security on rails to make it easy for you to be secure in the cloud.
Yeah, aren't the security attacks expensive?
Yeah, absolutely, right? So Everin's actually showing slides that that can cost as much as $50 billion in terms of these attacks. So it's definitely something we really need to have a focus on, and especially as we start to explore some of these new technologies, right? So as we move to sort of more traditional data warehouses, to more modern types of data warehouses, and then looking at things like real-time data analytics, right? So it's amazing to think that more and more of these analytics are going to be real time, right? In order to get maximum value out of those and to be able to make those decisions faster.
Exactly, yeah. Like you mentioned, in this security-first world, to encrypt your data, it's not only about data encryption, but also how you manage the user access, how you manage your audit log, how you make the whole system not only at rest, but in the real time, that all this need to be taken into consideration to build an entire secure system.
Right, and I think that's one of the strong learnings that people have whenever they're starting to move some of these things to cloud, is you can't really operate in the same way that you did previously. You do really have to change the way that you operate in order to make sure, number one, you can get the most out of cloud, but also you can make sure that while you're doing that, that the data that you have there is secure.
Yeah. And while we're talking about the security session, I think the session in track 2 also completes. It's about real time, that how we unlock our innovation in the business. When we have the real time access, we can really query both the real time data as well as your historical data, and to make it to make your real time and a very in time business decisions based on the analytics.
That's right, and we've heard from a lot of customers trying to do exactly that. So throughout the day, as we're hearing from customers like Hike, hearing from customers like Reddit, hearing from customers like in our customer spotlight, Traveloka, how important real-time data analytics is to their business. They need to be able to react in real time. Users want to have that assistance in real time. So being able to assist a user sort of 2 weeks from now isn't really useful if they're trying to make a decision today.
Yeah. And I believe you already received a lot of information about this real-time data bring values to your business and your analytics system. And think about that several years ago, in past years, that when we really want to get some insights from our data warehouse, we query about last month's revenue, and query about that how many passengers are using this flight in last year, do those aggregations. But today, those historical data is not good enough. We need to do some really fast decisions and see the real-time data dashboard to make our stand in the top of with other competitors. So it's very impressive to me that some customers ask how fast I can get the real-time data. Actually, in BigQuery today, millions of records can be ingested into BigQuery and be involved in your query in seconds. So it's really near real time.
Yeah, so I guess earlier, whenever Jordan Tagani, our director for BigQuery, was presenting along with Michelle Getz from Forrester Research. So I guess 2 reports that have come out of Forrester Research across 2 different Forrester waves. One is around data security and the fact that Google is a leader in that space. So that's fantastic to see. And the other one, of course, is Insights Platform as a Service, again, where Google is the leader in that space as well, in those 2 Forrester waves. And really that's what this entire day has been about. It's been about how do we modernize the data warehouse, get those insights faster, but also do that in a secure way.
Yeah. Both security and real time are the major advantages that BigQuery can offer to our customers today. And I think maybe the track 3 also completes that Han has shared our best practice and thoughts that for the data practitioners, DBAs, that how do they handle with their data lake together with BigQuery. So,
yeah, and we've seen that as well from a couple of customers, right? So from Traveloka talking about how they're using it from Data Lake, and Han going sort of hands-on and showing you how that actually works. So being able to take the data that you're storing in your data lake and activate it almost immediately with BigQuery, right? Being able to read those files directly out of storage and make use of that data.
Yeah, I do have received many questions to customers that who is still managing their legacy data lake. So there are a lot of things that they need to consider and plan in advance, like how many storage they should allocate to this block, or how many copies they should create for important data, and how often archive should be made, and how to tier the data into different tiers so that they can be queried in different speed. So all those kind of things can be answered, that you can take a reference to, like how BigQuery are putting together things with your data lake, how BigQuery are using your data lake, and how we think this as a whole system to manipulate your data and to get insights from your data. There are a lot of best practice has been shared in Hans' session.
Right. So maybe we should start talking about how you get your hands on these tools, right? So how you actually start using them. So first of all, if you've never used Google Cloud Platform before, I suggest you go to cloud.google.com/free, and you can actually access our free tier so you can start playing with this data immediately, including tools like BigQuery. So you can actually run queries across large sets of data in real time. We have public data sets available for you to try that. The other thing, of course, is our Cloud Hero setup. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Cloud Hero data analytics and a quick welcome back to track 3. So those that actually joined Han1Com around the data lake, our data lake story with BigQuery, so being able to activate that data. But once you do have that data activated, how do we actually get insights out of that? So we're going to give you the ability to get your hands on with those tools. So through Cloud Hero, and we're going to start off with Smart Analytics. Now, Cloud Hero is a program we're actually going to give you several challenges throughout the year, but Matt Tavis is actually going to come on in just a moment and talk you through one of those labs. So what Cloud Hero does is jointly with Quick Labs gives you access to the tools. You can actually build these things in real time with step-by-step instructions. And then once you do that, you can participate and compete globally to see who can actually beat these challenges the fastest.
Yeah, and Matt, who will be leading this game, he has been working in the cloud world for years, back to the 2005, that when this technology was initialized. Matt has been helping customers, partners, and our users to really leverage the data to get insights. And as you may know that we do this global digital conference 4 times a year, and we are always looking for your feedback to how to make this session more valuable to your business and to your work. So don't forget to leave feedback and comments in our website to help us improve.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, thank you for that. And so coming up, we'll go. Matt Tavis will take us through one of the labs step by step. Of course, you don't have to do it now. You will have access until the 1st of October to try out this lab. But Matt will take you through step by step so you can get your hands on, understand how to run smart analytics across your data sets, and go from being a very sort of reactive type of data.
Prediction on the data sits in BigQuery, and you do the machine learning prediction. So I hope you will find it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really about moving, as you said earlier, from that sort of historical reporting style to a more predictive and assist style of working. So please, we'll hand it over to Matt. Enjoy your lab.
Enjoy.
Well, I have Mac with me here now, who's going to walk us through the challenge.
Well, thanks, Priyanka. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've got some great news we want to share with you. It's something we've been cooking up for quite a while, and well, it's almost ready.
Well, Cloud Hero, are we talking about Cloud Hero?
Yeah, we're talking about Cloud Hero, yeah.
Yay, I'm so excited. Cloud Hero is moving into the new phase. The whole team is very excited to show this to you guys today.
Yes, we are. In fact, I was just talking with Jenny and Jonathan, who really wanted to join us here in person, but they couldn't physically be here today. Luckily, they're ready to join us from their remote locations, synchronized. In fact, I think we have about 10 seconds until they get here. Are you ready?
I am super ready for this.
All right. Well, let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
Team, look! We're animated.
Follow me. Welcome to the Cloud Hero One World Challenge, a new gaming experience for you to learn more about Google Cloud.
And compete with developers from all over the world to earn some awesome prizes. And most importantly, you'll learn how to solve real-world business problems within Google Cloud.
In this game, you'll challenge yourself by exploring cloud solutions in 4 territories and different topics.
This is the Modernization District, where you'll learn how to enhance and modernize your infrastructure and applications by adopting cloud-native technologies.
Here at the Development Arena, you'll learn more about tools and practices that power developer productivity.
This is the Transform Your Work Coliseum, a place where you will learn more about cloud technologies, collaboration, and productive tools to make your workplace more efficient and productive.
And this is the Analytics Park, where you'll discover how artificial intelligence and machine learning can help you increase business agility and unlock innovation. As soon as I'm back in human form, I'll give you a closer look into this world to show you how you too can move around and play. And that's our cue to go back.
One last thing. You can see where you rank among players on the global live leaderboard.
I could play here all day, exploring and uncovering Easter eggs hidden in the game, but it's time to get back to the real world.
So soon?
Oh, really?
I'm ready.
It's time. Bring us back, Raina. So, what did you think?
Well, I think this is so much fun. I can't wait to try it out.
Awesome. I'm glad you all liked it. Thank you so much for joining me into this adventure into the Cloud Hero One World Challenge.
Well, I loved it, and I bet that Jenny and Jonathan are back into their offices feeling as excited as I am.
I bet they are. And I can't wait to get back in there and start playing with developers from around the world.
Yeah, it was like a scavenger hunt, going through virtual tunnels, finding mentor tips, and then playing the game itself. Just learned so much so quickly.
And that's the key. This is a fun game for developers to learn quickly, improve their skills, and compete with developers from around the world.
That's cool. I wish we could show more.
Well, actually, that's a great idea. And so let me show you a preview of the quests and experiences in the Cloud Hero One World Challenge. This isn't open yet for everyone, so I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek of what's to come.
Okay, well, we'll take the sneak peek.
All right. So popping in here, you see I'm now in the middle of Cloud Hero One World Challenge, right? All the worlds we talked about, right from when we were in the game, same ones, they're right there. So if you roll your mouse over, you've got Modernization District, you've got the Development Arena, Analytics Park, of course, and Transform Your Work Coliseum. In fact, I think when I was going through there, I remember seeing you in there.
I was in there.
You were in the chat. I can believe it. I can believe it. All right. But in terms of navigating the game, you'll see over here there's this how to play section. This is important because, you know, obviously when you first get involved in a game, you got to figure out how it works, right?
Just like game instructions.
Totally.
Know what I'm doing and stuff like that.
Always available at any time in the game. You can go in here and you can see the One World description, click through the different pages, and it tells you more about the lands. It'll tell you all about the types of tasks, and we're going to show some of those in a minute, so I won't cheat and read this out loud. The main challenges themselves, that's where most of the points are, as well as dev tasks, which are like little logic problems to see if you're paying attention, maybe test your lateral thinking. And then, of course, quizzes, where you learn some things, pick up some things you learned about the cloud, and then you answer some questions, multiple choice. And then, of course, mentor tips, which is where we have little video snippets of Google Cloud experts talking about how it works and what to learn along the way. And then, of course, there's some general game rules around stars and points to help you with your points in the global leaderboard. And when you're ready, of course, you click that finish button right there and you dive right in. Now, of course, what's really important is that this is a points-based game.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
We want to know how we're going to win. So
Exactly.
yes,
so
show us
that's why
that.
the leaderboard is there at all times. And
Yeah.
you can see currently I'm in fourth. Oh, I mean, last time I checked, I was in third. This is very upsetting. I'm falling behind already. But fundamentally, this is maintained real time. It gets updated every few minutes, as you can see.
Okay.
And so you'll see your score, how you're doing in your challenges overall, and how you compare with everyone else who's competing. And of course, that's important because...
Well, because we are going to win prizes.
Exactly, exactly. Well, there's rules and prizes. Obviously, the rules are less exciting. The prizes are more exciting.
Yeah.
Everyone who participates is actually going to get some Quick Lab credits, so they can continue their journey wherever they want to go in the rest of the Google Cloud platform and experiment with other services.
Yeah, keep learning.
But on top of that, there's going to be 4 big prizes. A week-long time for a participant here in headquarters in the Bay Area. Exactly.
That is big.
To meet some Google Cloud experts and to interact with the team. 1 for the overall winner, so the points leader, after the challenge is complete. But then 3 regional prizes as well. So 1 from each region, and it's based on a raffle. It's not based on top score. So if you're playing the game and you don't know that you're going to get the top score, even though you tried really hard, you're still in line for that big prize. So there you go. So there's an opportunity.
Learning.
Keep learning and make sure you finish the whole game, because that's how you get into that raffle. So that's what's going to be in there. But of course, now it's what's actually going on in there. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Let's dive into one of those lands.
Yeah, let's start with Analytics Park. I think it's a good one. So as you click on that land, you zoom right in, and you can see there's obviously some different types of icons here. And here's my little airplane. I'm a little airplane. I chose that avatar. There's others. I won't tell you what they all are. You'll have to wait till the full game's over. There's little avatars in there. And if I want to play a challenge, which is really that learning aspect, I would click on one of these little challenge icons. My little airplane zooms over. And then we go into predicting taxi fares with BigQuery ML.
Wow, that is...
Yeah, exactly. I tell you, this is very useful next time I go to New York City. So what's going to happen when you click on one of those games is you immediately land in a lab-style experience, right? You can see here, this is the Quick Labs platform that allows you to go ahead and walk through and learn different skills within the cloud.
Yeah.
This one obviously is about taxi fares. But before we dive into the lab, let's take a look. We can see here the most important part is we have a score element, right?
Yeah.
This is where you actually score the points inside those challenges.
This is how I keep track as to where I am and how many more steps I need to do in the lab in order to get to that score.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. And you could at any time click over here. This panel will slide out. It shows you where you stand, how you've done as you go along. And as you can see, we're currently at 0 because we just started the lab.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. But there's 100 points for the lab, and each lab has its own scoring, and you go through and compete for speed. Speed is important. Now, the points will be the same inside the lab, but how quickly you finish the lab is a multiplier for your score.
Oh, okay. So I need to make sure I do them fast, and the score will obviously keep tallying up, but I will be higher on the leaderboard if I'm doing these a little bit faster than others.
Yeah,
okay.
We track how long it took you. We'll talk about how to improve your chances in a little bit. But so right now we've got this big lab, and of course the lab has all the different steps. Setting up your environment, exploring the data, identifying your objectives.
Yeah.
But the first most important button is this Start Lab button over here. This is where we kick off the lab, so we actually go ahead and have an opportunity to start practicing, or start playing, start competing.
Competing.
So we go ahead and click that Start Lab button. And you can see here it immediately changes that panel to give us a button for the Google console, but also some credentials. Now, those credentials are important. That's because for each of these challenges, we give you a special project that you can work inside of, completely clean. Yeah.
That's important because if I have a free Google Cloud account and I'm saving up some of my resources to learn some other things for a specific project that I'm doing, then I'm not utilizing those credits for doing these labs and participating in the challenge. So you have a completely separate environment that you're using to compete in this lab and learn some new things.
Correct.
You also have the other credits that you have from the free account or any other account.
Or your work
that you're
account
using,
or your
work
hobby account. Yeah, exactly. I must admit, I have multiple Google Cloud accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for different things, right? So yeah, just this is a good point to think about.
Yeah, totally. And so when I want to go in and start performing the lab, I got to go into Open the Google Console. I click that button and it opens up. All right, so now you can see we're inside here. We're in our little project. Whoops.
Yeah.
I got to accept the terms here as well. So now we're inside that project. And you can see the name right here. The project name is that really long Quick Labs name, which is good. That's how you know it's your project.
Yeah.
You can also see that the user icon up here is the account I just logged in. So making sure that you're in the right account when you do this is important.
It's important, and sometimes you may find yourself to be not in the right account. The way to switch that would be from the drop down
From
there,
the drop
and
down right
just
there, exactly.
select the Quick Labs account that you want to be in, and that's it.
Exactly. So now we can go over here, and I need to do this minimize thing again because I got to actually get back to the instructions on the lab.
Maybe we can just expand this so we don't have to maximize it.
That's probably a good idea.
That's it.
There you go, a little bit easier there.
Yep.
So if I go back, oops, that's not what I want to do. See, this is why these things are so sensitive.
Well, demos are always like
demos
this.
are always dangerous, exactly. So as you can see here in the lab, this is a BigQuery lab. It talks a lot about this, setting it up, getting your environment ready. Much of that is what we just did. Right? It's all about the opening the console. It's about choosing your account, doing all that kind of fun stuff. You're in the BigQuery console. So now we get to the part which is related to this lab, which is using the actual BigQuery environment.
Yep.
So what we'll do is we'll open up BigQuery, and you can see it's right here on the left-hand side. Under the big data section is BigQuery. Yep. So hey, that list of services keeps getting longer every time I go back there.
Keeps getting longer. So I just always start pinning them. Although in Quick Labs you are only using the account for one time, so may not make sense. But if you're using it in general, just pin the service that you use a lot, and they'll just show up on the top.
Yep, absolutely. And then if I go back here, it's saying, hey, now that we're in the BigQuery console, let's make sure we explore this New York City taxi cab data. So I can use this nice little clipboard icon right here to just copy that really quickly. Now, don't get me wrong, it's fun to type the commands manually, get the little muscle memory in there, but I'm not that great at typing that manually all the time. So I do a lot of cut and paste just to keep my life simple. Make sure I don't mess it up.
I do that too, especially in demos.
Especially
I don't want to be typing
That's
wrong
true.
things.
That is true. So here we have, it just ran a simple SQL query to go ahead and analyze the New York City taxi cab data. So if we zoom in slightly, you can see that we have a little query going against the data set.
It's really, so let me parse this.
Oh, you're going to parse it? All right, you're my SQL parser. All right.
Yes. So we are selecting the month and the based on the pickup dates and the month in which the trip was taken. We're selecting that, and then we're counting the number of trips for that time frame, and we are taking all this data from the data set, the BigQuery public data set, New York, and the yellow cabs is what we are using for 2015. So that's the name of the table, and then we're grouping them by one and ordering them by one, and then down there in the results, we have all of those trips counted.
Well, you can see, exactly. So 12 million, 13 million, a lot of trips.
Yeah.
A lot of people moving around. So yeah, you can see by month, so it's January, of 2015. That was what happened. So, seems like a pretty simple start. A lot of labs start this way, sort of getting you comfortable with how the environment works.
Yep.
So yeah, you'll see here, we went through and we did that step, and here's what it says we should have, and yeah, that looks pretty close to what I just saw in those results.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good sign. Now we get to the exciting part, because I did something.
Yeah.
So now I can score some points.
Okay.
And the way I start scoring points is by completing tasks in those challenges. So if I see here, I have my check my progress button right there. If I click that check my progress button, boom.
Yeah.
The super happy
check
green.
Mark.
Yeah, the super happy green check mark. That's pretty awesome. And over here, in the score, you see now we have 10 out of 100 points. So we're making some progress. We're doing well. All right, let's close that back up and go back. See what? Let's do something else. Let's keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going for a little bit.
I feel like I'm making some real progress here.
Yeah.
So now we've got another query, and this one's a little bit more complex. This one seems to be focused on the average speed. So let's see here. So we copy that same content there in the window there.
Yeah.
We go over here, and to simplify my life, I just delete all that, and then I paste this new stuff in there, and we see it's slightly different. It's grouping it by hour, it looks like this time.
Yeah.
And then it's doing a average of the trip distance divided by the sort of the timestamp difference of time. So it's basically distance over time.
Yep.
Sounds like a good calculation for speed.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what you get. And then of course it multiplies it to get to the right miles per hour kind of thing, right? Same data set.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it has this trip distance greater than 0. I think that's just getting rid of that anomalous data. You don't want the 0 distance trips or negative distance trips.
Negative distance trips.
Yeah. Turns out data isn't always perfectly clean, so you got to sometimes clean that up a little bit.
Do some sanity checks and stuff to keep that anomaly.
And then, of course, those pickups where the pickup is actually before the drop-off kind of makes sense.
Right.
another good natural check to put in there. So if we run that query, we'll go ahead and see the same thing in terms of it runs pretty quickly, 2.3 seconds. 4.4 gigabytes of data was processed.
See, that's
Pretty
the
awesome.
power of BigQuery we've been talking about in the entire session and tracks today.
Exactly. And so you can see that turns out right around midnight, average speed's 15 miles an hour. But once you get to about 4 in the morning, things really pick up pace.
Yeah.
So I think this might be related to when things are open in New York City.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing here.
Guessing here with the numbers.
Yeah, and turns out noon's pretty slow. What's some other good times? So 5 a.m.'s good. 6 a.m. traffic starts to pick up now. Yeah, you can see things slowing down. So that's that next step. And again, we go back into our lab and we say, all right, well, here's what we got.
We get to do a green check mark again.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go. The check my progress, my favorite part. Yep. We click on that, and boom, we've made some more. We got 20 points. We're making more progress.
Awesome.
And then we can, as you can see here, the lab continues. It's obviously now you can create an objective, and so obviously machine learning is really about trying to learn something, picking out something you're trying to figure out, to predict, to learn.
Yeah.
Right? And so here you can see as it goes deeper into the lab, we have much more complex queries are starting to pop up. And it shows you the ability to select the data set, but also to start actually looking for obviously breakdowns of data by different categories, total amounts, fair amounts, hours of day. These are all things you might use in your forecasting model.
Yeah.
Right? So you start building these queries to sort of train or pick a training data set for that machine learning model.
Yeah.
And as you go through this lab, you get deeper and deeper, you'll see you get more and more data coming along.
Yeah.
And of course, there's more tasks to complete. And then you can actually store models. So you have this data set, you can store an actual model behind it. Will actually help you start the prediction process based on that data set.
Yeah.
So the beauty of this particular lab is now you're learning how to use machine learning right inside of BigQuery.
Inside BigQuery,
Yeah.
and then you're able to apply machine learning. Being a SQL expert, you can apply machine learning to your data just using SQL.
Right.
You're not learning anything new.
Right. Exactly.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of this the analytics park in the game is the challenges are really about pushing you through different types of learning to really get you to pick up different skills along the way. This is BigQuery as a machine learning model. There's other challenges in the analytics park that relate to other machine learning capabilities. So there's all sorts of opportunities there.
So I'm thinking, should we pop out of here and see more features in the game?
Yeah,
because
it's a great idea.
We
Yeah,
probably
I can't
don't
do the
have
whole
time
lab,
to do the whole thing.
Well, you don't want me to go for 49 more minutes, just sitting here chatting. I could BigQuery all day.
Although I like hanging out with you,
yeah.
but we don't have that much time. So.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's go back to the game. Oops, not there. Well, let's go to the different window. It's in a different window. So we go back to the game.
Yeah.
And then if we click into the analytics park, you'll see not only are there these challenges, of which there's 3 challenges in each world, there's also dev tasks. Now you'll notice this one has 0 stars.
Yeah.
And it's already got a score. I obviously didn't do too well when I tried that one. Oops. It's important to know with dev tasks, you can only get 1 shot at them.
Oh.
So if you get it right the first time, awesome.
Yeah.
But if you skip it or you get it wrong, then that's what you're sort of stuck with. So you can't go back and do those again.
So make sure
It's important.
you're taking a note of that. Don't try to attempt them if you're not confident about them. And maybe do more of the other stuff and then come back to them so you have a little bit more skill set developed.
Exactly.
Keep that in mind.
Now the other thing is the quizzes we mentioned. You see those are locked. The quiz is only open once you complete all the challenges.
Ah,
so you have to take every lab in the environment, and then once you've done that, you have an opportunity to answer multiple choice questions based on what you learned.
Okay. But everything else I can just do randomly. I don't
Just
have
randomly, no order. You don't have to stick to this world. In fact, let's pop over here. We can pop over to the Transform Your Work Coliseum. And if I go to the dev task in here, which I haven't tried yet, you'll see it pops up and shows me the dev task rules.
Yeah.
Specifically, in this one, I have about 3 minutes. Some are longer, some are shorter. So I have a window of time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I have to try it right now. Once I start playing, though, if I quit
then you don't get the point.
No, I haven't done the labs in this section yet, so I'm not going to try it yet.
Yeah.
I think, and plus, I
Good
wouldn't
idea.
want to tip anyone off to the possible answers.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't want to do that.
Yeah. So I'll quit.
Yeah.
But there's also in here, we didn't talk about, but the mentor tips. See, we can fly over there, and with mentor tips, you can see I already watched one.
Yeah.
But I can go ahead and click on any one of the other ones, and there you go. Pop right in. Hey.
Hi.
There you go. It's you.
Those are some of the tips from from me as to how to play the game, how to learn some new things, and how to just navigate around.
Exactly. So you get that opportunity to sort of zip around the game, and then you can go ahead and pick up tips, and it teaches you about the cloud, not just about the game, but also in the cloud in
Just
general.
in general,
How to
yeah.
think about things. So that's a great experience right there as well. And then you can see that that's all those. I haven't done all those challenges yet. So, but we have all sorts of other challenges over here. Like for example, if you want sort of a preview, you see I did pretty well in this dev task.
Yeah.
I got 3 stars on that one, so I'm pretty excited. But there's other types of tasks, so like other types of games. Seamless migration to GCP. Look at that.
That is good.
Uh-huh.
So everybody's thinking about some sort of migration.
Exactly.
Right? It's
Exactly.
Either partly or fully or. So these are all very relevant.
Creating a chat bot
Chatbots
for
for
Hangouts.
Hangouts.
Nice. Yeah.
These are all pretty relevant things that we all are trying to do in some way, shape, or form in different parts of our businesses. So very helpful.
And the goal here is to really give you a complete view of building a complete web database app, a database web app.
Very relevant to our today's topic.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea here is that in all these worlds, you can sort of zoom back out, you really have the opportunity to learn, and we've grouped these challenges based on different arenas. So you have the opportunity to learn different things as you go through. And I think that's a really important takeaway, is that it's about these experiences around the world that will help you sort of learn the cloud, not just in one area you might have had some experience in, but really around the entire environment.
Okay. And then how do any tips on how to score more other than what you've shared so far?
Well, obviously there's doing the labs. You can actually try the labs multiple times. I'll come to that in just a minute, actually. There's some multiple tries you can go through. That's important. So you can go through it once and maybe go through it again. We'll talk about how that's going to play out. But you can see that leaderboard's still there. I still got some work to do. I didn't finish enough of my work here today to actually get any more points. So I'm definitely going to have to, once we're done here, I'm taking this laptop and I'm going to go complete that lab to boost my score.
Yep.
But up top, you see here's my points, but also here's my stars. You can see, there's my account. I have a profile in there. I have a nickname, all that kind of fun stuff in there. So all sorts of ways that I can.
So the one thing that's not clear to me yet is the difference between the points and the stars, and how do they play together?
Yeah, no, the stars, and actually some of that we're also sort of working out as well as part of the game. That's why we're sort of previewing it, how they all play together. There's more excitement to come when it finally launches. But yeah, the points definitely are the, sort of the big factor. The stars actually sort of feed into that overall score.
Okay.
Yeah.
So get more of both.
Yeah, get all of it. Yeah.
Get all of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got to take it all. But yeah, so that is the Cloud Hero experience, and that's really all I have to show for you today. Yeah.
Well, then let's tell a little bit more to the audience about how to play and how to participate and things like that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So what do you think?
I think that was a very cool experience. I know that this is a very special digital event for the Cloud Hero community around the world, but I have one question. When can we start playing?
Well, yeah, no, I know. I feel bad showing you such an exciting game when it's not ready for you to jump in. But yeah, the Cloud Hero One World Challenge will be starting in the coming weeks.
Okay.
But we do have an opportunity to start practicing today.
Oh, practicing.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Yes, practicing, exactly. I'm glad you asked. Because during the build-up to Cloud Hero One World Challenge, we'll be hosting smaller games so you and everyone else can practice getting ready. We want to keep everyone in top shape when the game finally opens to the world, right?
Yeah, well, that sounds really exciting. We can start to get ready and then start to learn more about the game. How can I score more and things like that, and navigate, know my path around and all of that. So I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, exactly. And we can get started right now. We're adding a URL to the stream that will show you where you can get started. The first world we're actually going to preview will be the Analytics Park. And that's going to give you an opportunity to try out some of those challenges that are in the actual One World Challenge when it finally opens. So you'll get a chance to really go through them. but it's important. You can only try each challenge a total of 5 times. That means including practice and the One World Challenge, right? So with only 5 attempts, you want to make sure you practice.
Yeah.
But don't go crazy. Don't use them all up. You want to definitely save some of those for the official challenge when it opens up in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so make sure you're not using all of your attempts because that's really important, critical piece of information. With that, thanks for that rundown of the game, Matt. And then I know I'm super excited to see the Cloud Hero 1 World Challenge open up, and I can't wait to see the winners around the world.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. What a fantastic presentation around using the labs and getting involved in Cloud Hero.
Yeah.
So these are some great warm-up exercises before our actual competition starts. So essentially, you can participate in these labs, run these labs for the next week, get warmed up until the competition kicks off. So once the competition kicks off, you'll actually be competing globally. So you'll be competing with people from around the world across a few different challenges and sessions. And at the end of that, we'll actually have some winners. So what do the winners get? So,
yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, so the winners will actually get a trip to California. So they'll actually get to meet some of our customer engineers. So for those qualifying participants, use this opportunity, get warmed up, so that you can make sure that once these labs are available in the official competition, that you'll be able to complete these labs in the fastest time possible.
Wow, that's exciting. So today is a warm-up, and we have more exciting and more real competitions coming, and it's global.
That's right. So check your email. You will have those emails coming to you to give you more information on these. So if you haven't registered, if you're watching this on a screen or on your friend's computer, register so you'll have access to that as well.
Great. So I really feel that the 3 hours are full of information and it's very valuable. I feel it's short. And we keep getting questions on the website, and some person asked that if some very specific questions about how to use BigQuery, like whether I can use join in the delete or update SQL statement.
Sure, and yeah, absolutely you can, right? And actually Chad Jennings showed some of the use as well, right? So it's not select only, right? So you can actually run other types of DML across the data set.
Yeah, and we also have an audience ask that whether I can bring my own encryption key when we really want the data to be secured by my organization's policy.
Yeah. So the short answer is yes, but don't forget that your data is always encrypted at rest, whether you supply keys or not, and it's always encrypted in transit. But if you do need to have customer supplied keys, we can support that as well, right? So you can have customer managed keys so that you can help encrypt and protect your data for your specific use case or for your own compliance. And actually, Hike talked about some of that as well during the session with Graham.
Yeah, we have a real business scenarios shared in our sessions. So it's a customer managed key, customer provided key, or GCP managed key. So you have all your options to secure your data, to encrypt data at rest or in transit.
Yes, fantastic. So I would like to thank our customers. So besides Manjeet from Hike, We had, of course, at our customer spotlight, Randy Bang Bang Jr. From Traveloka sharing their story. And of course, we had a partner as well.
Yeah, Kent from our partner Informatica. Kent shared us a lot of best practices that they have been working with hundreds of customers and helped them success in the data migration from whatever legacy data warehouse they use and to today's BigQuery.
And we also had the senior manager for data analytics from Reddit joining us as well. So talking about how they're getting business value out of their data warehouse as well. I would like to thank our other speakers. So first of all, Shirley, thank you so much for joining us. So flying down from Beijing to help us out, not only with your own session, but also helping with hosting duties as well. So actually, do you have any words for those people who are joining us from China?
Oh yeah, it's the first time, and I've seen the feedbacks from our China website that we do the parallel live streaming. 所以谢谢大家的参与，我们以后会更多的在中国同步进行这样的直播。
Great, fantastic. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. And to our other speakers as well. So here in this region, Han-Wen Kam, Graham Merrill, and globally, we had Chad Jennings, Jen, we had Locke, we had so many speakers globally, including product managers and product marketing people as well. Thank you so much for sharing what we're doing globally.
Yeah, and don't forget that you get 1 month free for Coursera training and some credit in Quick Lab. So don't stop your learning. That we are always with you to answer your questions. And if your business, your organization want to use BigQuery or GCP, contact your salespeople and they will direct you to whatever experts you need and help you success in the cloud.
Great. And of course, thank you so much to our production team for making us look so good in front of camera. And we will see you all next time at the Digital Conference.
See you.